assassin every way. Talking fast, not a pause in sight. Leanie's got my head in a spin tonight. Oh, shut up, Leanie, can't you see? You talk so much, it's drowning me. With your white hair and sassy flair, just give me a breath, let me share. Podcast queen with a wicked smile, running jokes mile after mile. Try to speak, but in she slides. Leanie makes it a wild ride. With a wicked smile, running jokes mile after mile. I try to speak, but in she slides. Leanie makes it a wild ride. Oh, shut up, Leanie, can't you see? You talk so much, it's drowning me. With your white hair and sassy flair, just give me a breath, let me share. Oh, Leanie, don't get me wrong, can't imagine life without your song. But girl, you've gotta let me in. This ain't just your show to win. So here I stand with my mic in hand, trying to keep this show as planned. Leanie laughs, guess it's gonna stay a little secret every day. Trying to keep this show as planned. Leanie laughs, guess it's gonna stay a little secret every day. Oh, shut up, Leanie, can't you see? You talk so much, it's drowning me. With your white hair and sassy flair, just give me a breath, let me share. Let me share. Oh, Leanie, don't get me wrong, can't imagine life without your song. But girl, you've gotta let me. This ain't just your show to win. Oh, shut up, Leanie, can't you see? You talk so much, it's drowning me. With your white hair and sassy flair, just give me a breath, let me share. Oh, Leanie, don't get me wrong, can't imagine your life without your song. But girl, you've gotta let me.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much. Sunshine checked in, might be asleep when the live starts. That's okay, Sunshine. Thank you. Get you some rest. RC says he'll be back. Hi, Lolly. You hit the like. Thank you so much. Dawn, what's up, girl? Aussie True Crime. Hello, hello. Darlene's in the house as well. Hello. Good to see you guys. Been missing you too, girl. I didn't go live last night, you guys. I had to get this floor done. It's the bane of my existence, my floors. And I think that's the longest I've ever gone. That I had done my carpets and my floor, which was a little over a week, I think. Hope everybody's doing good. Thank you for being here. Hope you're having a good day, a good night, a good evening, wherever you're at in this world. Hold on just a second. I'm doing some MJD's in the house. So I cannot believe we are going into what, day 28 of this. She's on BRB. Is it, I've lost count. Is it 28 or 29? I'm snotty, y'all. I'm sorry. I just can't believe it's been this long. Cannot believe it. Never, ever, ever would I have thought we'd be still talking about this other than the perpetrator. Never would I have dreamed that we would still be asking, where's Nancy? This late in the game, day 28. Thank you so much. It's unbelievable. 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 So I pulled up a couple of things that were running through my head today. And last night I was cleaning my floors, y'all, and I was like, I really should go live and talk about this. And then I was like, no, you're gonna get your work done. So I saved it for today, and I'm glad I did because it gave me a lot of time to think about it and then to go and research and see if anybody else has been talking about it on any news channels and stuff. And so here we are. Thank y'all for being here. We're going to just jump right into it, you guys. I've got a couple of things pulled up that I want to share with you. So we're just going to jump right in, if you guys don't mind. First, let's look at, hey, sorry, y'all. That's the puppy. Laramie. He wants little girl to play with him. So when I'm playing something, I will shut this down. So, I'll shut it. I'll mute my mic so you don't have to hear him. All right. Hey, Laramie. Sorry, y'all. He'll calm down in just a minute. He woke up and he's ready to play. Okay. You guys may have already heard all of this already. You don't need me to remind you of it, but I want to just talk about it. The blood that was found out front of Nancy's house, out front of her door in the portico in the little area right there where you go underneath the arches and that's called a portico. That some people call it a porch, but I guess it's not a porch if you actually enter something. So that's what they call it there. They call it porticos. So what a lot of people are not talking about, I only found one person that's mentioned it. And I'm going to bring two people, I'm sorry, that I'm going to bring it up. And Maggie and I, shout out to Maggie, just so you guys know, the ones that don't know that are here. I have a co-host. Her name is Maggie. She lives in the UK, you guys. She has been busy nursing her wounds. She took a bad fall about 3 days ago, broke a couple ribs, and pulled her arm out of socket. And if we go up, me and her go a whole day without even calling each other fuckface, then she's in a lot of pain. So she had warned me yesterday that she was just dealing with a lot of pain, and that if she went silent, that just means that she's like a wild animal. She gets hurt, she just crawls into her bed and deals with her stuff. And I totally get that because that's the way I am too. So I have left her be since then. That was last night I talked to her, and then the night before last night. I'm still awake from yesterday, so that it mixes me up. But nobody's heard from her all day that I know of, and so that's that. She will be back and running, you guys, very, very soon. But if say prayers for Mags. That's really rough. I'm surprised that she didn't damage her face more. So I'm guessing she hit this. She thought she hit her. She thought she just went straight in with her head, but it wasn't that. It was she went straight in with her shoulder, and whatever she hit broke the two bottom ribs. But she sent me a picture, and it looked like she had slapped her face against it because she has a couple cuts or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, Maggie, you broke your nose. That's what it looked like to me. And she said, well, thank God I have a nose because it didn't touch my teeth. So, but anyways, yeah. So y'all please pray for Mag. She'll be back and running in no time soon, but that's where she's been, in case you guys don't know. I know some of y'all were following her on the daytime lives that her and Lizzo were doing about this case on my channel. And that's the reason why that all stopped, because the last day she did one is the day that she fell outside her home. All right, so let's get into this. So, everybody's talking about the blood that you see on the porch step right in there by the door. And then we found out for sure it was Nancy's blood. And then Maggie had found some more blood that was actually what I can figure it out to be. It's like between the driveway and the walk up to the portico. And the only reason she found it is because I don't remember. I don't remember how she found it. Anyway, she found it, and then when we were talking about the blood, I was like, why hasn't anybody said anything about this? What's going on? I mean, you could clearly tell it's blood. And it looks very much like the droplets that are in the portico, except for now it's dropped on like gravel, so it's spread out a little bit. And then when we were looking at that, that's when we noticed the blue shirt sitting over on the rock, and we were like, why is that blue shirt? I mean, this was like day 2 or day 3, y'all. We're like, why is that shirt or we thought it was maybe a towel, why is that sitting there like that? And then we were just like, well, surely if it was sitting there, they would have picked it up. And if it had anything to do with the crime, maybe a reporter had, because they had already released the house the first time. And we were like, maybe a reporter left it there or something like that. And then come to find out just last week, it was actually Nancy's shirt that they used. It's been sitting there for over 2 weeks because we know the dogs came out on day 2. So that shirt had been sitting out there for 2 weeks at least. And nobody had said a word about it. And still, it seems like everybody's just now, I don't know if they're just now looking at pictures or what's going on, but everybody's getting on I found 2 people that are finally getting on the blood in the driveway. So let's do this. Let's start up here. Hold on just a second. Okay. So these are people, this is going to be, and I'm floating our copyright thing across the top. YouTube, so don't come at me. If any of the mods are in chat, that can drop the copyright thing also. If not, it's fine. These are new theories that are coming out. This is the Megyn Kelly show. She gets on my nerves, y'all, but she's fucking smart, and so I listen. This was out 3 days ago. She put this out in there, and it's on her Sirius XM channel that she had it out on. And so earlier today, when I knew I wanted to talk on the blood, I started looking, and I found 2 people who had mentioned it. It was her, and it was also the New York Post. So that's all I've seen that's really talked about it yet. I think no, I don't remember. Maggie's favorite person ever to watch on YouTube is Chris Madonna. You guys know that. And maybe she had told me one time he was talking about it, but he finally started talking about the mat. Y'all know that mat, and I have a severe problem with the mat. Pink Peony, hello. ¿Cómo estás? So I wanted to bring this up, but while we're listening to this, I just want to give you something else to think of that I'm kind of hoping is what, and I haven't listened to this. I just saw that she was talking about it. I was like, bada bing, bada bang, that'll work. But I'm trying to humanize these freaking people that took her. And that's hard. You guys know that. I mean, to us, they're just freaking monsters that claw. But I'm trying to humanize them. And I'm like, what would make because, everybody's saying, even these guys, I think, are the ones that are going to say that she was either hit in the face or in her hands. And so I'm trying to humanize them. And I'm trying to come at it in different directions, and not just settle on one thing. And so I got to thinking about it. What besides wounds that they may have put on her would make her bleed? And everybody says, that, hi, Melly Joe. Hi, who dat? I know I know who dat. I know. I know. But I try to come at all angles. I really do. Just so that I can, I don't know, figure stuff out better. So let's just say that maybe there was no violence against her body as far as hurting her. That's what I'm trying to focus on now, because it's just a different way to look at it. We know she was on blood thinners. That was put out that she was on blood thinners. Of course she was. She's got a pacemaker. And we know if people that are on blood thinners, like it takes longer for a cut to heal up, it takes longer to stop the bleeding, depending on how deep it is. I mean, you could actually bleed to death on blood thinners. So I got to thinking about that. And then I got to thinking about her age. No, Buzz, I'm sorry to say, not yet. I got to thinking about her age. Her age, she's 84 years old. We just lost my father-in-law last spring and or last summer. And I remember, and he was 80, 83. And I remember his skin. I mean, he was on blood thinners too. He bruised so easy, and his skin, y'all, was so thin, like really, really thin. Hi, Bill of Rights. Hello, Damage. I want to believe that, but not that they grabbed her. She resisted. It could have caused death just by abduction. Yes, I understand. So I went back to my father-in-law, Bob, and how thin his skin was. And y'all, just taking off tape, like if they would have an IV in him, taking the tape off, it would tear his skin. It was unbelievable how thin his skin was. And then I worked at a nursing home one time, and sometimes if you even held and like grabs an elderly person's hands, like it hurt them because arthritic, but also their skin is so thin. It's easy to just tear by hitting it. My mother-in-law hit her leg on the wall. You guys, they were at the last stages right before they got it to heal up. We were at the last stages before they were going to have to skin graft her, and she's in her 70s. And it was just from hitting her shin on her little ottoman in front of her chair. And she said it didn't even hurt. She looked down, she's bleeding. So now I'm thinking, okay, what if they just grabbed Miss Nancy and said, we're leaving, and she's kind of like resisting it or saying no or whatever, and it was an accidental tear. Are they still responsible? Absolutely, 100%. I am not letting them off anything that comes up of this crime. Nothing. They're solely responsible for what happened. But in my heart, I just want to believe that they didn't intentionally hurt her, like hit her. You know what I mean? So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Pink Peony, for saying that. You guys do me a favor and hit the like, and I would appreciate it so much. That's all I ever ask of this channel. I don't ever ask anybody to sub up anymore, become a member, or anything like that. All I ask is just that you thumbs up for me. That's it. So Fair Use Disclaimer, Copyright Act of 1976 gives allowance for this content to be used for purposes of criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. And that's exactly what we're doing. Our, let me find it. Hold on. Okay. Our source, you guys, is Megyn Kelly, the Megyn Kelly Show on Sirius. And like I said, she put this out 3 days ago. Let me see how long it is. It's just a 10-minute thing, so I'm not going to speed it up. Just a 10-minute part of her show that she's showing on here. And let me go ahead and hit that like from here. I can. All right. So let me do that. And then I'm not even subscribed to her, but I guess I should if I'm going to use her commentary. Yeah, let me subscribe because I mean, if I'm using her work, that's the least I could do, right? All right. So here we go. Let's watch this. Let me make sure it's as big as I can get it on your screen. It is. All right. You guys just watch your ears, okay? I cannot control your volume, only mine. Here we go.
Weekend about the DNA that was inside the house. Sheriff Nanos won't tell us, but she got some details I don't know if this is the entirety of the DNA, but she did get some more details on what was found inside of that house. Here it is in SOT 54.
Today, another law enforcement source familiar with the investigation has said that the pattern of that blood inside the house matches the pattern outside the house, outside Nancy's front doors. Those pattern droplets, as many experts have, described it, are as vertical. They fall straight up and down, 90 degrees, and there's no smears. There's no stepping in it. There's no struggle. There's no
Welcome,
struggle.
welcome, Melissa.
My source tells me it is exactly the same inside the house, that there's no sign of struggle in that blood. It's not smeared. There's no steps. They are those straight up and down drop pattern blood. I asked where in the house, and I did not get that answer. I can't tell you if it was in the bedroom, if it was in the front entrance.
So that's a pretty good clue as to what went down that night, potentially, Will.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to cover your first point, Megan, which was...
And we've always said, even before they came out and told us that there was DNA in the house, we've always said that if there's blood right out the door right there, surely there has to be blood in the house. Surely. I mean, because you can't see anywhere in the blood in the front of the house where it may look like she might have fallen. So there's that.
About the search and rescue and the sheriff calling it off very quickly. I am more inclined to, although statistically, yes, the chances of recovering someone within a designated period of time, it diminishes beyond that time. But until such time as, unless he had specific evidence to support the reasoning for calling off that search and rescue, I think the search and rescue should continue, whether it be using drones, whether it be using aerial capabilities, whether it be soliciting neighbors, all sorts of things. This can go on for an awfully long time, and determining also what Nancy's typical pattern of life was. What was her routine? Where did she go? Was there a local coffee shop that she would regularly frequent? Until such time as all those inquiries had been exhausted, I don't think you can call off a search and rescue. And I've had individuals where communications with kidnappers has broken down, and you'll actually send out a missing persons initiative. So again, it falls again into this bundle of errors that the sheriff seems to be calling, whether it be opening up the crime scene, enabling treasure hunters to come and start digging around. And I agree with Eric entirely on the point of, if she was going to be incapacitated, and certainly from the drops of blood, it would appear, and I think I can give the credit to Eric on this because we discussed this during the break, that she was probably being carried over the the perpetrator's shoulder, which is head.
Okay. Y'all, I wasn't even imagining it like that. Her being, she was only 150 pounds, short little thing. That makes sense that they would just pick her up, put them over the shoulders. And if that's the case, and if she's bleeding from her nose or her mouth or even her arms, her hands or something, it's just going to drip, drip, drip. You know what I mean? That makes a lot of sense. And I think I thought of one on one arm and one on the other arm and them coming out. That's the way that I thought. Hi, Uncomfortable Truth says, this wasn't random. My base statement, I don't think it was random either. I don't either. Thank you guys so much for being here. We hit the thumbs up for me. Jump down in chat. Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. Nobody's going to attack you at all for what you feel about this case, or if you have a theory on it. We just respect each other's right to have an opinion. And you never know. Somebody may be thinking exactly like you. So come on down, get in chat. Let us know where you're from. I think we're a pretty fun group.
Hence why the drops fell as they did through the property and then out. And I'm sure Eric will probably be able to give you a little bit more on that. He's probably more of a blood expert than me. But certainly, it just seems a catalogue of errors as to how the whole site has been managed, the process has been managed, and it smacks horribly of a pettiness that the sheriff has towards the bureau and his unwillingness to cooperate with them.
On that front, this is speculative on my part, but My understanding is if this is officially a kidnapping from day one, the FBI does have jurisdiction. Like that the FBI could have swooped in and said, we'll take it. If it's just an abduction, if it's a murder, then it's a local crime and it's the sheriff's. So I could have that wrong, but I did hear that from a legal expert I trust over the weekend. And that could potentially, we know this sheriff, he denies it, but we know from his earlier statements, he can't stand the FBI. He has a bad history with them. He does not like them. They've investigated his department. And it's possible he was like, it's an abduction. It's not a kidnapping. There's no reason for the FBI. And then eventually, like 72 hours in, he realized, oh shit, I'm in over my head. I don't know. It's just a possibility. But the blood pattern inside the house matching the blood pattern outside the house that we've seen, Eric, is interesting. That with the new detail that she was taken from her bed is starting to give us a visual in how they got her out. So expand on your statement to Will.
Well, you know, what we were talking about earlier is it seems like if it's a 90 degrees, so you have a straight line, a pattern of blood droplets moving along. Now she could have been carried, she could have been dragged and bleeding. And, you know, there are a couple of reasons she could be bleeding. There could have been blunt force trauma, and then she's pulled out. She could have been actually killed in the home, and it's not a abduction of the person, but a taking away of the body. Or, something could have happened in the home, an altercation, and they decided we need to get her out, we need to go. And as she's being pulled along, she's bleeding. When you're 84 years old, if you're grabbed roughly, that skin can tear a lot easier than when you're much younger. And so that could have caused.
This is the last time I'm going to stop it, I hope. Just want y'all to know I'm listening to this for the first time, just like y'all. I did not hear that before. That's not where I got that thought. I was just thinking outside the box. Oh my God, you guys, I'm finding out I'm fucking smart. You know.
It. But either way, it looks to me that she was pulled out or carried. She dropped blood in a certain pattern that matches interior of the house, the porch, and of course along the driveway. And then she's thrown in a car and taken away. And we don't know what happened to her since then.
Well, and the other thing we don't know is how much blood is inside,
Right.
which is why, I've wondered all along if this sheriff is leaning toward murder as opposed to abduction. And he's got to keep abduction open because she's no longer there, James. But if there's a lot of blood inside that house, it's possible this sheriff all along has been, and don't forget, he called in homicide detectives immediately. It's possible from the get-go he's been thinking this is a homicide.
Yeah, and you're right. And he also might have told her, or told Savannah she was taken from her bed because that's where a large deposit of the blood was. That would make complete sense as the video we're now seeing. But why take the body? This case, just the more you look at it, the less and less it makes any sense. Well, why take her body? If she died, in the bed or right there, there was a struggle.
What if she fought, James?
Yeah.
And then she's got the perpetrator's DNA under her fingertips.
Yeah, it's possible. Again, there had to have been a reason. I try not too much to get in the head of these people because, you drive yourself crazy. But it's just bizarre. And then I think, unless Eric saw it somewhere, I have not seen a lot of blood leaving the porch, going down that little step up, the steps with the wrought iron where that blue T-shirt was left. I've only seen blood. Yeah, like I don't see any.
Here's the Fox News video.
Right.
And it does show some blood on this little path that we're looking at right now,
Okay.
leading into the red bricks. So the blood does continue. That was news that we didn't know, courtesy of Fox.
Yeah, it's
after they released that video of the intruder.
Right.
You can see blood,
okay.
drops of blood. This is courtesy of Fox.
Yeah, and interesting that he didn't step in it. Interesting. It is very dark. We know how dark it is there. So how do we, from an evidentiary standpoint, how do we get there? How was he able to carry her or move her? And that thing's fallen at a 90 without, any real movement, which you would expect carrying someone out, and then not step in it at 2 a.m. It's so dark there. Maybe he's using that mouth light that he had, but it's odd to me.
Well, Eric's theory of her possibly being over his shoulder,
Right.
like bleeding behind him
I like
as
that.
he walked
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
That would explain
Yeah, I
it.
like that a lot. And then to the car, and then we go.
But I mean, you guys could speak to this more easily than I think I could speculate to it. But I think she was 5'5" and 150 pounds. If she were no longer living, that would be extremely heavy, right? To lift.
Yes.
Dead weight, like a dead weight of 150 pounds weighs even more. It feels like it weighs even more, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Eric,
But we're also assuming that there's only one person. There could be multiple people, and I suspect there would have been multiple people if they're carrying her out, right? That's very difficult for one. Or it could be one person who kind of restrains her. He had a lot in that backpack. So he could have had restraints. She could have gagged her. She could have been bleeding. He walked her out and forced her into a car. So we just don't know.
We have zero reason to disbelieve that.
Right.
Zero reason to disbelieve. We haven't seen it like an empty car sitting there waiting. We didn't see the perp come up and turn off the ignition with no one else in it. Like there absolutely could have been another person there. International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced financial strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could. Gold can help you to the number of information. Consider so you too certainty. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw.
Okay, y'all, I didn't know it ended right there at her, the people who's paying her to do that. Let's see. Oh, lady, oh, hello, good to see you. Mama YouTube is in the house, y'all. Mama YouTube's in the house. Hi, John. Good morning to you, Love Buck, over there in England. Don, I wanted to read out really quick what you had set up here. Don says, my husband is in his 50s, and if he's on blood thinners, one little stick, or if he hits something, it's a waterfall of blood. See, and some people are just like that. It just drips, and some people just, it looks like a crime scene. It really, really does. Uncomfortable. I'm going to show that footage. I've got it pulled up because I would like to talk about that as well. Dawn also says there's a channel on Tomato, and Dominic Evans too I saw. Definitely had me curious and explained a lot. Makes me wonder who the perp, if the perp is really watching or who he's watching. He's watching, definitely watching. And that's just a scary thought. Hi, Evelyn. Evelyn says maybe they got her out with a wheelchair. Possibly, but would it be quicker? Well, they spent 40 minutes in the house, you guys. They could have put her in a wheelchair, but if she was in a wheelchair and she was bleeding from the face at all, it would drip down her shirt. I could see her. I think it would be harder to restrain her in a wheelchair. Like, I'd be flailing. I'd be putting my feet down. I've worked with elderly people and they didn't want to go where I wanted them to go. And they're putting their feet down, and I'm just like, you better put your feet up or we're going to fight. And then they'd end up laughing at me, and they do it. But in a case where you're being taken from your home and you're in danger, I would hope she would be flailing everywhere. Dot, good to see you. Thank you for coming in. Pardon me. Melissa says, do you think the perps had planted bugs in the house? Oh, nobody has talked about that. Wow, I got to write that down. Hold on. Whenever I hear something I haven't heard, I always try to write it down, because then I have to just go down the rabbit holes with all of it. Planting bugs. Okay. Get out of there. What is it back there that you're always wanting? Maybe you can't have nothing in there. That's why I put that there, so you can't get in there. All right. Doggone it. There was something else I wanted to say about the end and what they had said. Let's see. Sneaky embedded ads. Yeah, I try to catch them, but they let them play for so many seconds before you can turn them off. Luckily I've never gotten in trouble because I do try to catch it. Did you see the lady in front today doing a photo shoot? Yes. It was disgusting. Mary Jane Doe says it was ridiculous. And I said right away, I only watched it for a few minutes because I thought it was just gross. And look, I don't care what people do. I don't. If you want to go model for Playboy, do you. Maybe in a different life I would have. If you want to work for OnlyFans, fans, do you. If I ever get poor enough, everybody's going to be buying my feet pictures. I don't care. I don't care what people do. It doesn't, as long as it doesn't affect me or my family, do what you're going to do, but that's really tacky to do some kind of photo shoot in front of a house that is a murder house or a crime scene. And I told them, because I found out from my Discord, and I told the girls in Discord, I was like, that's a whole different world of the dark kink in the porn industry. And then I said, I bet you she has an OnlyFans. Well, then I heard JLR say, which I think he gave him too much attention, if you ask me, and I love me some JLR, but there's no way I would have left them on my camera that long. No way at all. I would have showed you guys, but no, I wouldn't have done it. But I said, she's either got an OnlyFans page or something of the like, and come to find out she used to work in adult videos, and she's just now starting a YouTube channel, and this is her B-roll for her channel that she's going to start. Now, just so you guys know, the YouTube channel she's starting is true crime. So that's what they told JLR. So I don't know what kind of true. Maybe it could just be brilliant. I don't know. I just thought it was really tacky. And I've done some tacky things in my life, but yeah. We're gonna I don't think I have that footage. It's gross. Back to feed, had to feed the family. Welcome back, Aussie. Wolfie watches. Hello. Why would they do that? So the police could find them. Why would they do what, Lovebug? Why would they do what? Give me some context and I'll be happy to answer, or at least give you my thought on what you said. John H., they should go through the phone records from the family and others who bought a buzz phone. I wonder, nothing's come out about if Tomato Tomasco hot sauce dude, if his phone has been taken, or if his wife Annie's phone has been taken. I would hope they did, but hell, don't get me started. There's still a mat outside with clearly at least has some of Nancy's blood on it. And they didn't take that. That's still out there. The flowers that the dude held in his hand to try to cover up the camera is still dried up, laying on the mat outside the home. You guys, it's just, oh, that's what I wanted to say. So she was showing the Fox News thing. They said they just got it off of Fox News, where they were showing spots of blood with the shirt in the background. The picture that Maggie had found day three into this, you guys, and nobody's really talking about it yet. If that was, I couldn't figure out where it was at. Like, I was looking, trying to compare the picture with some of the other pictures online of the front of the house and trying to figure it out. And it does look like it is up the walk. Like, after you get up, you hold on to the rails, you hold on the rails, get up 3 steps, and then you kind of walk straight. And it's like a gravel, and that's where it looks like it is to me, but I can't be sure. Because nobody's talking about it. Nobody's verified it. But what I do know is when the feds went back, what was it, 3 days ago, you guys, 2 days ago? I've lost track completely of time. Hi, Jamie. I don't know if I said hi to you. The feds were walking all over that. If in fact it is right there on that walkway after you walk up with holding the handrail before you get to the portico, that's where the feds were all standing. So do they even know there's blood there? I mean, is it in the file somewhere? Did they? I don't know. I don't have a clue. Double tap your screen, please, or hit the button. Thank you so much, Melly Joe. JLR is about the views. If you don't know his history, he's not a great guy. Look, I understand completely about his history. Listen, I used to not be able to handle him at all. But I'm here to say that any person who will go out and spend their days out there, and I'm not saying I don't know his heart. I don't know if he's doing it for the right reasons or the wrong reason. I'd like to feel like he has a passion for it, because if I didn't have a passion for this, you guys, there's no way I could be doing this almost every night. There's no way. It's a passion, and it's about meeting people and talking to people for me. So, but I have to give the man some kudos, because he's out there. But not only is he out there, he told every one of us creators on YouTube, I won't strike you. You can use my videos, or you can use whatever you need to, just keep your name out there. Now, whether he did that for even more views and more, I don't know. But I just know that there's been other creators that have shown up for a day or two there just for the views. And then they left because their heart's not in it. It's just not. So that's just me. But I like him. I know his past. I get it. But he's not hurting anybody doing what he's doing right now. In fact, he's probably making the best out of his life right now and doing some good, actually. People change. Don't blame someone because of their past. Yeah, listen, what I always tell people when I meet you, I don't care what you've done in your past. And I even say that whoever, I don't even know who sent that. Who sent the 10? Whoever sent that donation to the channel, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And that's all I know to say. I don't know how to react to people. John H. Oh, God bless you. I don't know how to handle that when people do stuff like that, and I end up sounding like a idiot tripping over my mouth. So I'm just going to say thank you and leave it at that. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, their past. I always tell people when I meet them, what you've done in your past is not what I hold you accountable for. I hold you accountable for this minute on. And I like to be aware of people's past. So much so that when my girls ever brought a new boyfriend home or a new guy that was taking them out on the date, the first thing they heard out of this mama's mouth was, I'm going to need to see your driver's license. God, y'all, I embarrassed my kids so much, but I didn't care. I didn't care. This was 10 years ago I was doing this, y'all. No, my girls have been married longer than that now, 14, 15 years ago. And every person that came to pick up my daughters from my house, I did a background check right there in front of them. I knew exactly how many tickets they have, if there was any warrants out for their arrest. And yeah, I absolutely did. And I encourage other parents to do that. Right there in front of them. Don't be shady about it. Just let them know that's what you're all about. Like, you're not playing games. This is your child. So that's me. Now, if I know you have a past, like I'm going to watch you, and there's certain people in my family I'm probably not going to let you around. But I always say what happened before me is none of my business. Unless you're murdering people, or I don't even have to say them. You guys know. So there's that. Has Tomato gone back to his job or just staying low? I think he's staying low. Nobody's seen him but once. One time. That's it. Whoopi says, good for you. I don't. He exploited Sandy Hook back in 2012. See, I was working a full-time job, honey. I was working 40, 50 hours a week. I was raising a family, married, and taking care of animals in a home and everything. I didn't even know there was a YouTube back then. So I'm not, I don't know what you mean by exploiting. There's many ways to do that. I guess you could say I'm exploiting here the Nancy Guthrie case. And that's not my intent at all. But look, just because I like somebody doesn't mean you have to like them. And just because you like somebody doesn't mean I'm going to like them. And you and I could be buddies and keep going on, because I'm going to tell you, I've got mods in here that we don't always agree on everything, but we don't have to, because we're adults and we get that. So, yeah, no big deal to me. You don't have to at all like him or whatever. There is more blood that nobody's talking about. Well, I have found 2 people that have just recently, like Megan Kelly started talking about it 3 days ago. And then I think I have another one up here. Yes, that the New York Post just posted. So nobody's talking about it, you guys. Thank you for the reasonable response, Lenny. Honey, just you do you, babe. But really, no, I have no hard feelings when somebody, hell, people don't like me. What are you going to do if you go into another chat, people that don't like me, and be like, I think Lainey's okay. And they're going to be like, oh, we fucking hate that bitch. That doesn't mean you can't like me still. It's okay. You just stick around, Wolfie. Stick around. JLR is an amazing investigator. Let's see. It was pretty crazy when I was younger. Looks like John sent it then. John is just a sweetheart, you guys. He found us through this case. He's from the UK. He hangs out in the evenings or the morning to him too. He has to go to work. And then when Liz and Maggie are running a daytime live, John hangs out with them. And man, he's been so sweet to this channel, and I just appreciate it. He's always chatting in here, and I appreciate that and giving me his thoughts. Sorry for the distracting from the original discussion. I appreciate your perspective. Oh, honey, that's what we do. Listen, unless I'm covering a case like this, you won't believe what this channel looks like. We're on a different subject every 15 minutes. That's just how it rolls. That's the way I like it. I'm just trying to be all professional when I do these, and do right by the family, and do right by Miss Nancy, and catch these fuckers. That's what I want. I just want Nancy home. No matter what that looks like, I want her to come home, because my heart cannot fathom what it feels like to have a loved one, whether it be your mother or your child, your sister, your brother, whatever, out there, and you just don't know. And I think that's why I'm here. It's just mind-boggling to me. You guys would have to just come and visit me in the padded room, because I'd be gone. I think they already did. I must have missed what John said. What did John? Yeah, I love this channel. Thank you, John. You're so sweet to us. All right. Thank you for not saying that, because there have been some people that are just saying I'm doing it for clicks and views, or that I'm buying views, or I'm doing this because I'm just a little channel, y'all. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't care. We're talking about it because a lot of people that hang out here regularly were like, everybody just started talking about it. And I was like, well, let's do it, and we'll do it to the best of our ability. And so that's all I can do is try. All right, let's see. I think this whole thing was planned months ago. I don't think this was a random act. John, oh, Sheriff, I don't know. That's what I call him. And I know that sounds disrespectful, but I think he's a poor leader. I could go on. We're going to do a whole live on the sheriff. We're going to go back to the very beginning of when we heard his mouth all the way through the bullshit that he's. Anyways, so they're not coming right out and telling us, okay, the 2 pictures that they're putting side by side, which I have them right here. I'm going to show it to you guys again. I have the picture. Maggie put it side by side for us. they won't tell us for sure if this is on the same night or on 2 different nights. Some people are saying, zooming in to the guy who does not have the backpack on and sees a backpack sitting on the ground. I have heard other people say, nope, that is the pot to the potted plant. I don't know for sure, and I don't know how to zoom these in or lighten them up or darken them up or try to see things in the dark that I can't see. I don't know how to do all that. I'm just being honest with you guys. So I'm not even touching it because that's a speculative thing. I mean, and we're all entitled to that, you know? And sometimes I have to ask you guys, do you guys see this, or have I just looked at it for so long that I'm imagining now that that's what I'm seeing? Because that happens a lot. At least to me, it does. I could sit and stare at stuff forever and then not even sure what I'm seeing anymore because I don't know if I put it in my mind. Anyway, so I do think that it had, especially if those pictures are on different nights, it had to have happened months ago. But here's why I think that maybe those 2 pictures are on the same night. And there's no timestamp, so we don't know. If that one guy without the backpack came and he was surveilling, or he was actually going to do it, and it's the same guy or whatever, and then he got spooked and decided, no, it's not for me, I'll get somebody else, or I'll come back another night, he would have known that camera was there. So why, when he came back, didn't he bring some tape and already have it in his hand and just walk right up and slap tape on that camera instead of walking backwards, grabbing some foliage and jerking around trying to make it sticksy? I mean, that's piss poor planning. That's what my dad would have called that. Hello, elevator. Good to see you. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you so much. Apparently there have been other people reporting stealing mail, other meds off the front door. I think there's a burglary alarm that the sheriff doesn't like being talked about. Well, we do know, what was it? Was it yesterday, you guys? I think it was yesterday that people were out in the house putting up new security footage. And people steal packages even off of my little rural town thing, guys. Probably shouldn't say I don't have a camera outside. Yeah, I have 50 million cameras outside. I mean, they're everywhere. But anyways, yeah, people steal those all the time. Let's see. I don't know about that. There's clues that make me think inexperienced, but some clues that seem methodical and well thought. So who knows? True. No, that's true. That's completely fair. Melissa from Australia says it's 2 different nights they have confirmed. The police department has confirmed that. But if it's out of hand, doesn't taking a hostage with you complicate it more? I feel this was targeted. So I was listening to someone else about that. Why take the dead body? Isn't that what we just listened to? Or maybe we're going to listen to it coming up. Why, if they went in and she died in the home, either by force or something, right? Why would they take the body? Well, because she could have scratched. I mean, we can clearly see his, in between his glove and his shirt, part of his wrist, that people believe that is a tattoo there. So could she have scratched somewhere? And they're just like, well, shit, she's got to go now. She's got to go with us. You know what I mean? So there's that thought. And then I think if it were me, if they were carrying her over their shoulder to get her out of the house, which now just sounds completely like something a guy would do. There obviously has to be blood on the back of his jacket, or maybe his pants pocket or something, or maybe on the back of his leg where he's walking, where it's dripping down. I wonder if I think in the desert, you guys have to have a burn ban. I think I'd be putting it out on the news at this point. Was anybody seeing burning trash or having a barbecue pit in the backyard that didn't smell like barbecue? Because I don't believe they're going to find the clothes. I think they had to have been burnt. If you have, if you're in your right mind about a crime, I would think you would know. Look, I got to get rid of everything and not in the trash can, because cops just have a way of finding that shit, y'all. You got to burn the hell out of it. I burn everything. No, I do. I burn everything. So I think it'd be worth putting out in the Tucson news and all the way over into Phoenix, maybe. If they know of any, nobody's in trouble. Nobody's in trouble. We just, need to know, did you notice anybody burning in their backyards or off in a field or off in the desert somewhere? I think you got to look into something like that, because those clothes are gone. Diamond says, hello, my Indiana sister. Says, looks like the same body shape of the guy that was there the other day that spit on the property. Oh, I didn't know that. I knew a dog had peed on some of the blood or something. I believe it was definitely targeted, Jamie says. Hey, JD, says Nancy, rest in peace. Amen. And I do believe, I sadly do believe she's no longer with us. I just want to bring her home. That's all. Neighbor, the walk by often noticed the dog was gone. A lot of people talk about the dog, but as far as I can tell and what people have researched in here, they said the dog was gone some few months before this happened. I don't even know what type of dog it was. I agree with Leaning. Hey, Erica, good to see you. Thank you for coming in. I think they pancaked and took her. That's what __ says. You would think the very least Nancy's children would have given her a medic alert button, given how old she was, bad heart, lived alone. Okay, so I have to say this, you guys. Most of you guys already know, and I sound like Nancy Grace talking about her deceased fiance and her twins, and I make fun of her, especially when she talks about her twins. But I'm just using it as context. I'm not asking for anybody's. Look, God's blessed us. We are living I have a walking miracle in my house, but not my house personally, but in my family. My oldest daughter is a heart and kidney recipient. And y'all, when she was young, when she was diagnosed type 1 diabetic when she was 9. And the first thing I did after we had to stay in the hospital for 3 days, get her sugar back to normal. And then I had to learn how to do insulin and food and all the things. And the first thing I did was I stopped by a pharmacy and I got her one of those bracelets, medical bracelets, diabetic medical bracelets. Y'all, so the first year she was fine wearing it. Everything was fine. And then by the second year, she was like, it's annoying. And I was like, fine. Then we're going to get you a necklace, because let's just say she passed out. She was 9. So let's just say at 11, 12, 13, she passed out. I don't think the first thing they're going to do is check a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old's blood sugar. You know what I mean? But if they see an alert on her, immediately that's what we're going to check and find out where this is at, where her blood sugar's at, right? So then I was like, fine, I'm getting you a necklace. Y'all, she wore that until she was probably about 15 or 16. And then she's like, Mom, it's so embarrassing. And my heart went out to her, you guys. I mean, there was already so many restrictions, so many hospital visits, so much stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have to pray. I said, I'm going to pray every day that, that God just keeps you. And that's all I can do. And I understood that it was embarrassing because people would ask her, like, what's wrong with you? Why do you have to wear one of those? Because it's not exactly like dainty and pretty. So after her heart and kidney transplants, I wanted to get her an alert and because her husband worked, her daughter was in school, they bought a new house. She moved out. Because she was living with me when we were going through all that. They got a new house. They were super excited about their new life together. And y'all, I would panic like anybody would, any parent or anything. I go to work and I would just be so scared that I would call her like 2 times a day from work. And then she was like, Mom, can you please stop? Just stop it. And I begged her, please, can you just wear one of those buttons? That way, if you have some kind of heart episode or whatever, I don't care if it's anxiety, you can push it and go get checked out. And y'all, she didn't. She just was like, no, I'm grown and I have faith in God that He's going to take care of me. And I'm so restricted on my life as it is. I don't want to wear that. I don't want to. And so I had to shut off. And it's hard. There's still days that I want to call her just so I would hear her say, hey, and then I could hang up. But damn it, she knows it's me. And there's only so many times in the day you could call your kid and act like you want to talk about something else. You know what I mean? Like fake it. I'm not a good faker. She knows when I'm scared or I'm upset or I'm worried, especially like in the last year. She's really had a lot of health problems. And so every day's a challenge, but her husband ended up getting a new job last year, you guys, that you can't tell me there's not a God. Her husband got a job last year, you guys, working from home, making more money. So now she's not alone anymore. And you don't know to this mama what a relief that is. It's so, and then I always worried about my granddaughter walking in and finding her mom and what that would do to her for the rest of her life, Oh, so I can understand some people not wanting to wear them. I can understand it. Now, at the age of 84, I could have told my mother, you're going to wear one of these. And then just to stop the fighting, she would say, okay, and then take it off when I left because I couldn't see my mother wearing it either. Look, that old lady ain't going to fight. No, not, I think she'll try her best, but it's not going to be like what you or I could do. And have you watched her on Savannah's show? I haven't yet. And I was going to ask you guys, I probably shouldn't ask you guys. I probably should just do it, but I was going to do another live where we watched the video of Savannah's that she did 3 months prior to her mom going missing. She did a series for the Today Show about Savannah going home. And so it was actually filmed inside. Parts of it was filmed in her mom's house and with her mom. So I think that might be worth looking at as well. Maybe she's a tough old lady. Yeah, but that energy runs out real quick, especially if you've got heart problems. And the body may have evidence on it. That's why they moved her. True. The back door was open. Melissa, they backed that up. Now they're saying the back door was closed and the front door was unlocked. I'm sorry, but I'm believing more what I heard in the beginning when it comes to the way they found that house, because he has backed up so much that he realized he probably shouldn't have put out. So now he's saying, no, that wasn't true. And this is true. And that's true. No, I'm going to believe what was said in the beginning when it comes to that stuff. Now, I think from like day 2, he just started lying his ass off, the sheriff, that is. This is like the Lindbergh baby case. Yeah. And 2 other things we're going to talk about here. Let me get through chat really quick. I'm going to bring up this other blood splatter thing that I have to show you guys. And then we're going to talk about 2 other cases. We're not going to go into them. We're just going to watch like a 10-minute thing on them. Because somebody had talked about that in here one time about Frank Sinatra Jr.'s son being kidnapped for ransom. and we were trying to remember any more. Well, I found 2, and so I'm going to put that on. It's only like 10 minutes. Wonder if anybody lived in the pool guest house. Maybe someone did live in it. They were cautious to not alert them. I think somebody did live there, whether it was just like her housekeeper or something, a family member, a grandchild. I don't know how old, maybe a niece or nephew. I don't know. But I think for whatever reason, they weren't there that night. Maybe because they were told that Nancy was going to be over at the other daughter's house and no telling how late. So don't worry about going over and feeding her dinner, or, that they'll make sure to take care of it. Diamond says that guy on Split on property was on JLR's video. He was with 2 other people that walked right on that spit. Okay. Right on the property. Okay. She had a medical alert and pressed the button to have notified authorities. She might just be here, right? Evidence, sorry. No. I get it. A lot of times it's just talking, text, and then my big fat fingers, they hit things wrong. Lucky I could just talk. Let's see. Jamie says, I get scared being alone with a bad heart, but my boyfriend stays 3 days a week, so I can imagine it had to be scary for Nancy. Dot says, let me get it up. All right, on. I'm glad they're home together now. Me too. It's such a Dot, it's such. Michelle says, I feel for you. I feel for your daughter. This is so tough. I get it. I would be terrified. God bless your daughter. Thank you so much, Michelle. She is a miracle. She is going into her 7th year. Yes, 7th year with it. And she's never had any signs of rejection so far. It's just other things that she deals with from being diabetes. The neuropathy is really, really terrible. Gastroparesis is really, really terrible. She has really no immune system left. So any little cold, it's terrible. But she's breathing and she's living and she's raising her baby and she's happy and loves having her husband home. I would die. I would go get an outside job if my husband worked for home, because I need time alone and she does not. Thank God her husband's home now. What a blessing. Yeah. Estelle has agreed to do chest compressions if necessary. She practices every morning. Darlene says, my mom has an alert button in the lounge room in the bathroom. I mentioned one to wear and she told me she's healthier than me. Oh, Lady O says, I'm almost caught up, guys, and then we're gonna bring up this other one. I'm listening to you on the big screen, but won't see chat listening. Thank you, Oh, Lady O. That's so nice of you. Bear says, Nancy should have been in an assisted living facility. Well, I feel like there should have at least been a caregiver living with her. A lot of people don't want to go to assisted living. They just don't. And if she owns her home, she wants to die in her home, then I get that. Then you got enough money, have a round the clock nurse for your mom, whether she likes it or not. That's what I'd have told my mom. I would have been like, look, this is the way it's going down, Mom. You can stay in your bedroom all day long and be pissed off that this nurse is sitting out here and then going in and checking on you and bringing you food every now and then. But it's the only way this is going down. And, there's not a damn thing you could do. If their mind is solid, you cannot get a court order to have power of attorney over your parents, no matter how old they are. You know what? Aging parents can be loved and neglected at the same time. Bear, that is so, so true. Michelle, thank God for miracles. That's awesome. You're sending prayers that she has a healthy, long life ahead of her. Thank you, Michelle. That's so kind. All right. We're down to the last one. This is a true tragedy. It could have been prevented. Yeah. And imagine feeling that, I can imagine the guilt. I can imagine the guilt. And I live with guilt on a daily basis. And if I don't feel guilty about something, I'll try to remember something to feel guilty over. It's just one way of self-harm. And I do that to myself. All right, so I'm going to bring this up, you guys. And this is just a read on. Pardon me. Let me see if. Okay. All right, so my source is the New York Post, you guys. This was put out February 3rd, so I know it's been a while. But come on, get up there. Y'all, I gotta get, I don't know why it's so hard for me to remember until I sit down to get somebody to get me a new mouse for this. But this just talks about the blood. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up. I'll read it. Because the real reason why I have it is because it's going to show you two pictures, the pictures of the blood on the doorstep and then the picture of the blood that I'm talking about. So let's share that. Go back over here. Yeah, so you guys have, everything that's in this is we already know about, because obviously this was 3 days after her abduction. Is what they're calling it, because there's no body. So we don't need to go back over the unverified ransom notes and stuff like that. We've heard it all. I'm going to bring it to right here. So this is the front door of you're already in the portico. You've already come over the arch. Can y'all see my cursor? Let me look over here. I hope you could see my cursor. All right. And I know it's small, you guys, but let me see. Hold on. Oh, shoot fire. Hold on, y'all. I didn't mean for it to get that big, but this is pretty good. I'm going to put it right there. All right. So obviously we see blood, and I know it's a little bit of, it almost looks like stippling blood right here. And then maybe some other kind of patterned blood going this way. But the drops, you guys, are the drops. Now, Lizzo and Maggie covered this blood scene a lot. They did a lot of breakdown of the blood. So I'm not going to go into a lot of it. But what I know Lizzo thinks this is, what did Lizzo say? Did she say it was where she hit the floor or something like that? I zoomed in on it, and it does look something like that. Like, it's not a smudge. It's like, to me, I'm wondering, this is what I'm wondering, if this little weird looking place right here and then this little looking place right there, are these where they swab the blood from? Is that why these all look different than the blood splatters? These are splat, 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 splat. You know, it's on this rug here too. It's the bane of my existence, and I'm still pissed off that it's there. Splat. It's all splattered, and then some of it is just splattered, and then it's got tiny little dots of blood all the way around it. But these right here, right in the middle, the darker, the more fresher looking blood, and this little line of fresher looking blood, and this right here looks completely different. This looks like darker blood, like maybe it had sat there longer. But I don't know about you guys, but if you were an investigator, would you have swabbed every blood droplet? I'm curious. We need to ask JB that. JB is our retired FBI agent of 20 years that comes in here and has been a tremendous help with understanding this case and understanding why the police and the FBI do the things they do. But that's another thing I was thinking about, because when Maggie and Lizzo were talking about the blood, and they did a whole live on the blood, it was brilliant. And I was always wondering why these looked so different, and they look fresher than the rest. So I'm wondering, did they use the swabs to swab this, and they took off the top part of it, and we're seeing fresher blood because what they took off the top? And then was this just swabbed over here? I don't even know. But if you look up here, you guys, this is why I'm screaming about the mat. This mat, it's not like it has holes in it, like those kind of mats that you put at the door and it's got a design in it and it's rubber and it's got holes. No, no, no. This is actually like got some kind of felt thing over it. There are no holes in it. So whatever lands on it or is put on it is going to stay there. It's not seeping through all the way to the back unless it's water or something like that, right? If you zoom in, there's actually little blood spots that look like it just splattered kind of over to here. Well, if there's blood right here, I'm pretty sure there's probably blood on this somewhere. Why is the mat still sitting there? I'm going to ask every day until this damn case is solved. Not only that, you see this all right here, all this shrubbery and shit all dried up. This is the stuff that homeboy went over there and picked up and tried to hide the camera with. It was never picked up. Why wasn't it gathered for evidence? Could DNA have been picked up on this? Especially some are saying that he actually hit something and it tore part of the glove over his knuckle. I don't know if that's true, but it's possible. It's possible. Or did a piece of saliva spit? Everybody's talking about the light bite, the bite light in his mouth. Y'all try to hold something in your mouth like a screw or something like that. You're drooling all over freaking everything. So imagine holding it that wide open. You're drooling. So by the time he picked up these this foliage to try to hide the camera, could he have gotten his DNA from saliva on these? We don't know. But was it collected? No. When the FBI came, I didn't ever see them go on the mat. They were down a little bit closer down here where the arch is, but they damn sure were inside, walking inside the area where I believe the other blood to be found is, which is right here. Let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah, kind of. Hold on. Okay. My mouth sucks. All right, you guys. This, I believe, just having looked at what the driveway looks like and then what the little part that you hold onto the handrail, you walk up 3 steps, and then there's a kind of a long a walkway there that looks like it's made out of this. It's just gravel and, you know, cemented in there like that. And then you go underneath the arch into the portico, but you have to step up on the brick 1 step. So to me, I don't know about to you guys, and maybe this is why they're not talking about it. To me, y'all, this is blood. And it kind of looks like, sorry, y'all, my mouse is just shit. It hates me. Are these bigger drops of blood? I mean, what's happening here? Nobody's really talking about this, you guys. I'm trying to move it again, but my mouse just sucks completely. These look like bigger drops of blood to me. Let me stop it right there. Especially this one. This one kind of looks, did he happen to step? Well, he wouldn't have stepped in the blood. The guy on Megan Kelly said if he had her over his shoulder, she's bleeding behind him. So he would not have stepped in blood. Not that I think that was his thinking. I just think it's easier for a man if they're going to take a woman anywhere, they're going to throw him over their shoulder. So that could be why we don't see any steps in the blood and trailing it. You know what I mean? But y'all, this is blood. So we were looking at it. Maggie had found this on day 3. And we were, and then we noticed if you go right over here, there's a big rock sitting right over here in this area, a little bit further away. And that's the big rock that Nancy's shirt was found on. So again, here's a closer look. You could see how close just the splatter gets. Not the green stuff. The green stuff is the foliage, you guys. All the little green stuff that you see is the foliage that he pulled out of the ground. And you could see this mat. It's like a felt, hard felt kind of mat thing. What kind of DNA could they have gotten on it? If he's stepping all over it, could he have brought fibers from his own car and they stuck to this mat? Could he have bought fibers from his own home and then stepped and left on this mat? Who knows? We don't know. And we'll never know now. Why? Because 50 million people have done it, and it would take a shit ton to get all the DNA off of this now. Let's look at the very last picture. There's Savannah and her mama. What says you guys? What do you think about that? What do you think? Hi, Shad. Good to see you. I'm sorry. If you just put in your Google search, Nancy. Oh, well, put in Nancy Guthrie blood outside her home or something like that. It'll bring it up. It's pretty small. Can't see it, but I can never see shit properly. Anyways, I'm sorry, you guys, because we're going vertical. I can't show it to you bigger. I have to pick the vertical or I have to pick the other way to go live. And this way just seems to reach more people. Why didn't LE find the blood on the doorstep? Melly wants to know. Did they? I don't know if they did or not. I mean, we hadn't heard of it. The first time we heard about it was through Brian Enton, who, when the tape was released, he walked up to the door and he was like, guys, there's blood all over this place. Be careful. And he's doing a live. And he's the first one. I think they probably meant not to show us that blood, but they were stupid enough to take the tape down and not think this thoroughly, like the reporters were going to be up there. So I think when Brian Enton found it and he put it right out there, y'all, I mean, they had to come out and they had to say, we tested it. And so obviously they had already had swabs of it. They just weren't telling us about it. Anomaly, hello. Good to see you, honey. Thank you for coming in. Anybody that's here, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. We all do me a favor and just hit the like for me. I appreciate it. It looks like blood splatter. I see some different color, looks reddish. It looks like bigger drops. It does to me too. Well, I know for when my son gets nosebleeds, like it starts off small, just the trickle. And then by the time he finally gets it, stops and sticks his whole head in cold water in the sink to get it to stop. It looks like a freaking crime scene in there, y'all. He could have had animal fur all over him. Yes. How many times has animal fur solved a crime? Y'all, that's a real thing. Do you ever realize they arrested someone who showed up on Nancy's property? I did not know that. They fuck it up all the time. That's right. How did cadaver dogs miss that forensic? Well, they're not looking for blood. They're looking for decomposition. So cadaver dogs, they don't smell blood. That's what search and rescue dogs do. And they had Bortec in there, you guys. They're the best of the best. And they had Bortec come in with cadaver dogs. I don't know how far and wide they searched. So there was no decomposition, meaning no dead body there. But the search and rescue dogs, I would have imagined that they would have found that blood. Because Inspector Gadget could have done a better job on this case. I feel like Inspector Gadget sometimes. Nearly a quarter of a way to 100. Thank you guys so much. There's 50 here. Do me a favor, hit the like. I'd appreciate it so much. All right, let's talk about the car. Let's talk about the car. Surely you guys have already seen it on many channels. The car. Listen. If somebody can identify Brian Kohberger's car, I'm pretty sure they can get this one done. and identified. Here's my point. I understand where Brian Koberger was going. There was a lot more surveillance because it was actually on his campus in Washington that actually found the car. And, you know, there's cameras all over the campus. I get that. And I get that this is a really rural area. I get that too. But depending on where they're going, and if they were smart enough, they used the back roads. But what happens if it did pass the Circle K? Do they already know what type of car it is? Because they're not, from what I saw, they weren't asking people what type of car it was. They were asking people if they had seen a vehicle like this one that's being shown on their Ring cameras. Right? Am I right, or did I get that wrong? I could have gotten that wrong, but I'm pretty sure they didn't say, can you help us find out what type of car this is? They're saying, look at your Ring camera footage on the night that she went missing and tell us if you have a car that's going by looking about like this. Karen says, no, they haven't. Not yet, they haven't. What did I miss, honey? Please give me some content. I've said a lot, so I don't know what question I asked to get an answer to. Would you mind putting it in chat for me, please, Karen? Good to see you. Dot says, with properties that big, why was there a camera radius only 2 miles? Ridiculous. Hopefully they are looking over footage again. Yes. Yeah. Dot says they haven't put any make or model out for the car. Anomaly says cadaver dogs are also trained to find blood. Cadaver search and rescue canines are pretty much the same. Well, we looked at something the other night on that, and they were talking about how they do have a sense that could be the same in a lot of ways, but they are trained to do two different things. That's why they brought in two different dogs, two different types of dogs. They brought in one that's only there to find a dead body, and they look for, they sent out decomposition. And then the search and rescue dogs are the ones that you let them smell their clothing and stuff like that. And they can find them dead or alive if they're still in those clothing. Or if the scent from that, if they can still smell that scent on the body. Yes, there are two different certifications for the dogs. But you know what? Here's the other thing, you know, maybe when they brought out the dogs, that was day 2. So I'm sure they already seen the blood. So there's no reason for the dogs to go up there. You know what I mean? And step all in that blood and stuff. So I could see them already saying, all right, we already know what this is. We need to find Nancy. So here's a shirt for you. And you, Mr. Cadaver Dog, go out there and get us a dead body. That would make a lot of sense to me, actually. I wouldn't want, I mean, they do try to keep the dogs. That's why dogs are trained to sit, bark, lay down. There was one other, or whine or something like that. There's 4 commands that a cadaver dog and a search dog will do. Is one of those 4 training commands they'll do. And they're trained not to touch it. Not saying that they haven't all. I mean, Newt would find it and he'd be like, yeah, I'll bring it. Hold on. Oh my goodness. That's what the shirt was for when it was still a search and rescue. John says it's the impact on the ground. It spread out the distance. Right. Yeah. All right. So let's talk. For those that haven't seen the neighbor car thing, let's watch that together. Um, you guys, I feel like I'm off my game tonight, and I'm so sorry about that, but I'm still so tired. I am not sleeping good, and it has nothing to do with this case. Well, it something's always affecting me. So a lot of times I do go to sleep praying about all this and stuff. Um, but I just have trouble sleeping anyways. So whatever little sleep I'm getting, it's just I feel like I don't think I'm going into any REM sleep. And I'm sleeping with dogs who, you know, love me. Thank you, Pink Peony. Would you guys do me a favor and hit the like if you haven't done that yet? I try to get 100 likes every time I go live now. I would appreciate it so much. No, Karen, it's okay. It's okay if you can't remember, girlfriend. I can't remember either. I can't. I'm a foggy girl. I'm a foggy. Usually I can, but I don't. I think it's just that I'm so tired. I really am, and I'm not getting enough sleep, and I know that. Spring fever. I wish it was just that. I'm like this all the time. I hate it. All right, let me pull this up. You guys have probably seen it, but for those that haven't, this is the car video that was Fox put this out just, let's see. It doesn't even say on here, which is a little weird. Unless I'm missing it. Oh, 17 hours ago. So yeah, you guys have probably already seen it. I haven't seen it all the way through, to tell you the truth. So I'm gonna look at it with you guys. So my source is Fox News 10 coming out of Phoenix, you guys. Let me go ahead and subscribe to them because I'll be using them a whole lot. All right. I'm going to stop this right here because this is what people are talking about. Somebody even in our Discord put a picture up of the guy who is not wearing a backpack. And in the Discord, they said, this right here, you guys, this is what they were telling us. And some people have said it in chat too, of that picture, that this right here is a backpack leaning against the thing, and nobody noticed it. You guys, clearly to me right now I can debunk it. This is not the backpack. He didn't set the backpack down before he threw it on his back. This is clearly a pot for a plant that's coming out of it. So I'm debunking that right now about that being a backpack. It's not one. So, can you guys hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Can y'all hear me? Uh-oh. Oh, so you guys didn't get to hear that I had just put up? Did you guys get to hear it? Or you only got to see it on, oh, shit on a shingle, y'all. Shit on a shingle. All right. You hear now? Okay. So I'm so sorry, y'all. Hold on. I'm gonna I had the wrong one up and I was watching the other one. Son of a biscuit eater, y'all. Anyhow, this one also talks about the car. Let me see. Let me just make sure. New video shows cars passing through the neighborhood, and my source is Fox 10 out of Phoenix. You guys, let me hit the thumbs up here. Let's go ahead and watch this. This was put out 17 hours ago. Can you guys still hear me? You did not see it. Okay, I'm going to show it right now. Give me just a second. Watch your guys' ears. Okay, I can't control your volume. Here we go.
Details this morning in the search for the mother of Today's Show host, Savannah Guthrie. This is video from a neighbor's Ring camera. Caught a dozen cars passing by the area of Nancy Guthrie's home the morning of the abduction. Some of the activity takes place around 2:30 a.m. on February 1st, which is around the time Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker last synced with her iPhone. FBI telling Fox News that some of its operations and the search have been moved up to its Phoenix office. And KLD in Tucson is reporting that the 84-year-old's home, which has been considered a crime scene for nearly a month, will be returned to the family either this weekend or sometime next week.
26 days since the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie in Tucson. The 84-year-old was taken from her home nearly a month ago.
And there's been no arrests so far. Very few public leads that we know about, but the internet has been fraught with speculation. Many people accusing other family members or those close to them of being the suspects. So when the FBI released these images taken from Guthrie's doorbell camera, the internet began to pin the blame.
I'm going to stop it right here. You guys might have heard me talking about it earlier, but let me go ahead and talk about it here and what I was talking about. So there have been people that have come in here and talked about, I hope you can see my cursor, this dude right here without the backpack on. They've even posted it in my Discord that this sitting right here is the backpack. And I've seen it come in our chat here, and they say you can actually see the backpack sitting off to the side over here. I'm here to debunk that right now. This is not a backpack. This is a planter, and it's got a plant sticking out of it, you guys. So the backpack is not here, and I do not believe there is any cars out here anywhere. This is a house way across street, way back there. I don't, that would not make any sense to me. That they would pull all the way up here to park when they would park over here off camera altogether. That's just me. But for sure, I'm debunking this right now. If you guys see it out there, oh, he laid the backpack against the tree, and then he went back, picked it up, put it on, and then did his business. This is the same night. No, this right here is a potted plant.
Zeroed in on a man named Dominic Evans, who is the bandmate of Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law. In a
Case in point again, it's right there, you guys. That's what they're talking about. It's so whenever anybody tells you the backpack is sitting right there, it's not. That's not it.
exclusive interview with the New York Times, Evans spoke about how these allegations have impacted him and his family's lives, how they feared leaving their home, and how they're trying to protect their young children. Today, we spoke with the journalist who wrote the article. He says Evans wanted to clear his name.
This is someone who's never been detained, accused, never had anything searched, anything like that. It's even sort of less tied to this than some of the people who were, seemed like they were detained and asked questions and, wanted to look through their phone or something. This is just someone that the internet zeroed in on because he's in a band with the son-in-law of Nancy Guthrie and has a charge in the past for taking some things while out at a bar. So, there was really no actual ever accusation by law enforcement about this guy. He was approached by the police, as many people have been in the course of this investigation, because he knows the family. So they asked him a little bit. They said, do you recognize this person who's on the Nancy Guthrie's doorbell footage? Do you have any idea who this might be? Tell us a little bit about the band that you're in and how you know the family. And that was about a 40-minute interview. And he, like I said, that was 2 weeks ago. He hasn't heard from them since. And but what he's gone through since then is people online continuing to think that they, for some reason might be ahead of the investigators and know that this guy, the things that they're saying are really, in some cases, quite absurd. I mean, they'll compare the doorbell footage to his eyebrows and his eyes, and it's a lot for him and his wife to endure. And they're trying to, raise three boys in this suburban Tucson neighborhood, and they're having to deal with this nonsense online.
Yeah, this guy's been everywhere online. Evans' name, his picture, his address, all posted online. He says on multiple occasions, dozens of people showed up to his Tucson home. The Pima County Sheriff, Chris Nanos, who did not want to rule out anyone beyond Guthrie's relatives, said Evans should speak with some attorneys and possibly sue some of these people for libel. If you'd like to.
Wow. Boy, I'm going to tell you, if they're talking about suing for libel, I mean, I might be turning my head a little, because I'm still side-eyeing everybody. I mean, I don't know how long the band has been disbanded. I don't know, but I too have been very, very guilty of looking at eyes and looking at people that is in tomato hot sauce's circle. I'm guilty. And I think I'm still going to look at them, by God. I think I'm still going to look at them. And and I'm not even going to stop looking at them if the police say, we have cleared them. Okay. I'm not going to stop looking at them until I have been to court with them, because I'm going to court, y'all. Even if it's on court TV in my living room, I will be at court every damn day. So, because I know for a fact there's been many, many times the police have cleared somebody, and they're the ones that end up going to jail for it. So I don't believe what that sheriff has to say about clearing anybody for nothing. So I am very guilty of that too, and I will gladly say I'm sorry after court's over. Hi, Rush for tacos. That sounds good. There's nothing wrong with thinking that but some of these people are accusing him. No one is saying while them from memory. Yeah, I mean, I'm not flat out saying that's who did it. I'm saying I'm looking at him. I'm watching him. I'm not convinced that he's not involved yet. And the police should be thinking that too. They really should be thinking that too. Nobody, until we've got for sure some kind of hard evidence to arrest somebody. You know, why would you, unless they got solid alibi? I get that. The solid alibi, I can get that. Like if somebody accused me right now of committing a crime right now, every one of you in chat could say, oh no, we were talking accordingly, and she was tired and she's messing up all kind of shit and she did a horrible live. We're just here to tell you. So no, couldn't have been her. She was right here online with all of us. You know what I mean? If it's that kind of a thing, then okay, I'll let you go. But if there's any kind of suspicious stuff going on, oh no. And you can't give a full alibi for some. Listen, there's a lot of times in my life I will have no alibi. Same as y'all. God forbid that something should happen and I would be a suspect, and all that could account for me is my dogs. And I'm not online at that time. And even if I'm online, that doesn't mean I'm online, right? So unless I'm on here talking to y'all, I have no way to prove what I'm doing because I'm at home, you know, I don't work. That's a scary thought. Shag says, hey, it's freedom of speech, and if someone feels a certain way, they should have the right to say it. But to try to ruin some, yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. No. Now, I can't say that if it wasn't one of my family members, y'all, and I had a strong suspicion, and even though no one, you know, you could be wrong, but I still felt very like strongly, oh, I'd do everything in the world to ruin their life. I probably would, but like just someone that I don't know, I don't think I would hope none of us would do that, but there are people that are just like, yeah, those are your eyebrows, dude. They're your eyebrows. No. All I know is the man has pretty eyes and pretty eyebrows. And that's all I know. All right. So I just want to read this real quick. And then what I did watch last night while I was doing floors was, I know you guys are thinking it's Nancy Grace, but it's not. Shocker. See, I'm still full of surprises, you guys. It was Ashley Banfield, and I was sent over to watch her. Maggie had sent me, and maybe some girls in Discord, maybe it was Dawn. Somebody sent me something. They were like, have you watched this yet? And I was like, I haven't had time yet. And they said, sit down and watch it. And I did. And I was blown away. So, but I want to bring up this first because I know in the early days, and even now, maybe every now and then we'll have somebody pop in and talk about this. And I was wrong. And I had to tell y'all what I was wrong about. So let me explain what I was wrong about. That I believe that the whole ransom thing didn't make sense to me in the beginning, because I was like, who would wait 3 to 4 days to drop ransom, right? To drop something that says, we got your person and we're going to need the money. In my mind, if I'm going to kidnap for ransom, I'm going to leave that behind. That's already going to be taken care of. It's going to be there. They're going to know what's happening, and they need to start getting my money together because I want in and out and be done and over in England or hanging out with Maggie or in Australia, you know. So, because I know they'll hide me out because they love me. But so I said, that doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. I was wrong. I was completely wrong about that. That's why I want you to look at this. I pulled up. I just typed in people, just famous people, because we all know these, and you might have heard about them too. Famous people who had been abducted for ransom, and this is what it pulled up for me: the 11 most famous abduction in modern history. The taking of Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy, is the latest in the long string of high-profile kidnappings. Y'all, and even after I read this, I got a little bit more hope in my heart that she's alive. I'm all messed up now. I feel like Maggie. I feel like I'm taking over Maggie's personality while she's gone. It's terrible. I like my own. When Today co-host Savannah Guthrie's 84-year-old mother, Nancy, was kidnapped on February the 1st, 2026, it was the first major kidnapping to spark a media frenzy in many years. I forgot to pull this up. Let me put that up so you guys don't have to look at my mug. And it shows pictures, actually. Such where am I at? Such episodes prior to the ubiquity, I've never used that word in my life and never even seen it, of surveillance cameras and advances in forensics were much more common, including these watershed events. We all know about Charles Lindbergh Jr. in 1932. I remember hearing about that when I was a kid from my mom. The abduction and murder of famed aviator Charles Lindbergh's infant son on March 1st, 1932, was at the time considered the crime of the century. Lindbergh's 1927 journey from New York to Paris was the first successful solo transatlantic flight and made him a household name. Aware of the case was such that anyone seen with a small blonde child was looked at twice. Oh my God, you guys would have been looked at like crazy here, said Case Wickman at Vanity Fair. Despite a frantic search that involved more than 100,000 people, the boy had likely been killed the night of the kidnapping, and his body was discovered 72 days later near the family's home in Hopewell, New Jersey. A German immigrant named Bruno Richard Hauptmann was tried, convicted, and executed for the crime. Isn't that funny? I wonder what the statistics are, if anybody wants to look it up for me and let me know. Usually when stuff like this happens, or even murders happen, like how often do they find the victim close to home? It's pretty big, right? All right, here's Adolphe Coors III, 1960. On February the 9th, 1960, 44-year-old Adolphe Coors III, the grandson of the company's founder, vanished. His car was found on the Turkey Creek Bridge near Denver, where he had been abducted and escaped murder. Joseph Corbett looking for a quick get-rich scheme. The attempt went awry, though, and ended right there on the bridge when Corbett shot Coors to death, said the Colorado Public Radio. His wife, Mary, received a $500,000 ransom demand the next day. Oh, so see, he was already dead. And the next day, he's trying to cash in. The FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover, dispatched an enormous operation to find the beverage heir. Coors' body was discovered on September the 15th, 1960, and the FBI later traced a car matching a witness description to Corbett. Corbett was convicted and sentenced to life in prison, but released on parole in 1980. My God, you guys, he only did 20 years. How is that possible? Frank Sinatra Jr., 1963. 19-year-old Frank Sinatra Jr. is the son of one of the most renowned musicians and actors of his generation. Was kidnapped from the hotel in Lake Tahoe, California on December the 8th, 1963. Two men, Barry Keenan and Joe Amsler, tied up Sinatra Jr.'s friend, John Foss, and spirited the singer to Chenango Park, California, where they contacted his father and issued a demand for $240,000 ransom. which Sinatra delivered early in the morning on December the 11th. So it was a friend of his, you guys, John Foss. He was in on it. His own friend. Okay, so he was kidnapped on December the 8th. The ransom came, it doesn't say when they got the ransom, but it was paid on December the 11th. A third conspirator, John Irwin, spilled the beans to his brother, who contacted the police. The three men were sentenced to life in prison, though none served even 5 years. At his trial, Keenan testified that the crime was a hoax, a publicity stunt coordinated with people tied to the family, an allegation that was later disproven. Paul Franzak, 1964. A woman posed as a nurse at Chicago Michael Reese Hospital and made off with a 1-day-old infant named Paul Franzak on April 27, 1964, triggering what was the largest manhunt in the city's history. 2 years later, the FBI found a child that they believed to be Paul in New Jersey, and he was returned to his parents, Dora and Chester Frosnick. I'm sorry, I'm butchering the name. But in 2012, Frosnick took a DNA test that proved, oh God, this gets worse and worse. In 2012, Paul took a DNA test that proved he was actually Jack Rosenthal, an Atlantic City child who had vanished in 1965, along with his twin sister Jill, who has still not been found. In 2019, it was revealed that the real Paul Franzak had been raised by Kevin Batty, a woman who raised as his new name was changed to Kevin Batty by a woman named Lorraine Fountain. By then, both Batty and Fountain had passed away, and the original kidnapper remains unknown. Rosenthal still goes by Paul and published a memoir in 2022. Oh my God, I got to write that down. I want to read it. Hold on, I'm sorry, guys. Just write his name down real quick. Could you freaking imagine? All right, here's another one you guys may recognize. John Paul Getty III. In 1973, Getty III, the grandson of the petroleum magnate John Paul Getty, was abducted by Italian gangsters in Rome on July 10th, 1973, when he was 16. The kidnappers demanded $17 million, but the elder Getty initially refused, suspecting his wayward grandson of complicity and saying, "If I pay one minnie, I'll have 14 kidnapped grandchildren." He only agreed to dispatch the $2.2 million after he received his grandson's ear. Oh, didn't know that. He received an ear in the mail, y'all. The highest amount that could at the time be considered tax deductible. Getty III struggled with drug and alcohol abuse and suffered a stroke in 1981 that would leave him disabled for the rest of his life until his death in 2011. The story was made into a 2017 film for All the Money in the World, as well as 2018 FX limited series called Trust. My God, could you freaking imagine? Here's an ear. Holy shit. I'll be taking pictures and sending it to you guys for real. Patty Hearst in 1974. We did talk about this one. On February the 4th, 1974, 19-year-old Patty Hearst, the heiress to the William Randolph Hearst media dynasty, was kidnapped from her apartment in Berkeley, California, by members of the Symbionese Liberation Army, the SLA, a far-left radical group. 2 months later, she participated in a bank robbery, after which she was considered a fugitive until September 1975's arrest. Hearst maintained that she was coerced, but she was convicted and sentenced to 35 years in prison. Hearst's decision to stay with her kidnappers was a deeply symbolic transgression, one that articulated the anger so many felt against the American establishment, said the Smithsonian Magazine. She was released in 1979 after Jimmy Carter commuted her sentence, and she went on to perform in a number of Hollywood films, including 1990 film A Crybaby. So these are other people that I didn't. Here's one that we all know. J.C. Dugard. Oh God, I remember exactly where I was standing when I found out that she was rescued. 11-year-old J.C. Dugard was walking to school bus stop in Lake Tahoe, California, when she was abducted by a couple, Philip and Nancy Garrido. Philip already a SA offender, and Nancy held Duggar for 18 years in a hidden backyard structure. She was repeatedly SA'd and forced to carry 2 of Philip's children. The case attracted even greater attention when she was found in 2009. Authorities discovered a hidden backyard compound made of ramshackle tents and sheds, including a small, sparsely furnished 2-bedroom building where she and her children were held, said the New York Times. Dugard founded a nonprofit to help people recover from similar horrors and has understandably kept her daughter's identities a secret. The Garridos remain in prison. Nancy's already been let out. We all know about Elizabeth Smart. On June 5th, 2002, 14-year-old Elizabeth Smart was abducted from her bedroom in the family Salt Lake City home by Brian David Mitchell and Wanda Barzee. Wait a second, I may have that wrong. I think it's Wanda Barzee is the one that got out. Mitchell, who had religious delusions, had previously worked as a roofer on the family's house. Though the case drew widespread national scrutiny, Smart remained in captivity for 9 months, suffering daily SAs until she was recognized in Sandy, Utah on March 12, 2003, and rescued by police. Smart had to summon tremendous physical stamina to survive her captivity, said Margaret Talbot, the New Yorker, published by the New Yorker. Smart founded a nonprofit to combat SA exploitation and is now married with 3 children. Mitchell remains in federal prison. Barzee was granted parole in 2018. Yeah, I'm not sure. I had that backwards. I'm so sorry. It was Barzee who was the one that was let out. I'm not sure if, what was that other chick's name? Nancy Garrido. I'm not sure, but I could have sworn there was something on the news about her. I could have swore. So, it happens, y'all. Could you imagine, though? Could you imagine, here you are, you've got all this money, right? And you say, look, that grandson's a little shit, all right? He drinks, he smokes, he fools around. I think he's in on just trying to get money out of me. And then you get an ear in the mail. No, I wonder if he dealt with some guilt. Limburger Jr. was Hal Days back in what year? 70 plus days. Yeah, in 1932. It's 2026, and technology is so much better. It's crazy. And that's just the names that we know, right? This happens every damn day. Maybe not for millions of dollars, because let's just face it, nobody's got that. You'll never get that kind of money out of people. Rush for Taco says they clear people with an alibi, so no evidence to point at them. Some influencers are piling on accusations on band members to Moscow. Carlos and people are harassing these people. Yeah, I don't think that. I think this should probably be a crime. That's just my opinion. I think you should at least get fined for that because people's lives really, really do get messed up. And even after there's a conviction, they still fuck with people. And that's just not right. All right, guys, last but not least, first I need to go let my dogs out really quick. I could do that as soon as I start that. Let's do that. I'll do that in just a second. You guys heard a dog in the background. It's little girl. She was barking. She's got to go potty. I want to watch with you guys this Ashley Banfield. Her YouTube's channel is Drop Dead Serious. You guys, she's an independent now. I think she actually left whatever news program she was doing at the time, and she works for herself now. And I know she's got a video out explaining why she left and why she's doing her own thing now. Well, first of all, she's probably a millionaire about now. So and she's got people that adore her. So she's always going to have a following and be able to make your own time and do your own thing. I mean, why not? I guess I don't blame her for that. And let's just face it. I'm going to say it. A lot of times it is absolutely not the investigators or the police, as much as I adore them people. And for the most part, I think they do their job to their ability. I just do. I think there's more good law enforcement than there is bad. But if truth be known, it's people like all of us that are interested in this and still talking about it and trying to look for something for the love of God that solve a lot of these cases. But what happens is the police you guys know the police are what? I don't have to tell you. You already know. The police, the investigators, all that, they're all watching everybody too. So I think a lot of times they get their leads from us at least. At least. I really do. Watching all those Facebook groups, watching true crime, I just believe they do. Because one thing I noticed about watching this right here, and this was only put out one day ago. So just so you know, she put this out the day after I did my last live. What's going to be funny is a lot of stuff that you hear on this, I've already said. And people in my chat have already said, and we've already talked about it. So I'm not saying Ashley Banfield's watching us, but I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, y'all. In all seriousness, I think they get leads from all of us, depending on what they're watching. And I think that's how because we could sit and talk about it and go, oh, they should go check this. They should really pick up that map. They should really pick up those flowers. They should do this. And then finally someone goes and does it. And that's the bada bing, bada bang. But they're not going to say, oh, yeah, I was watching According to Leanie and she was over there bitching us out every night she went on because we hadn't picked up the mat or the foliage that's still on the door or at the door. You know what I mean? So I think people have come way too late. I know we're pains in the asses. I get it. I get that we step over lines sometimes and we are complete pains in the ass, but I also do believe they get a lot of leads from people like us. I do. I think they watch chats. Absolutely. All right, let me pull. And I'm going to step. I can still hear it. I've already watched it, so I can still hear it, but I want to take my dogs out here really quick and I want to grab Siggy, y'all. Where's my damage? Damage always grabs a sig when I grab a sig. All right, let's play this. Share screen. All right, my source, you guys, of course, is. All right, I'm already there. Ashley Banfield's Drop Dead Serious, y'all. Sub up if you wanna. I'm subbed up. This was reported, this was dropped a day ago. And let's hear what she has to say for herself. We have to say for yourself, Ash. Y'all, first time I ever saw Ashley Banfield, honest to God, not that you guys care, but I'm going to tell you anyways, because the best thing I ever do is tell stories. But the first time I ever saw her was when the Anna Nicole Smith had her baby. The son died at the hospital, and then Anna Nicole Smith died 3 months later or something like that. I was living in Florida during all that time, and so I watched all of that trial and all that, and I remember I was in love with Ashley Banfield at the time. She was wearing her short, cute hair and her black framed glasses, and I thought she was so pretty. Y'all, this woman right here doesn't age. I'm gonna punch her in the fucking face. We can't be friends. I'm not the duff in any relationship. I can't be. I don't hang out with pretty people. I can't do it. No, I can't be the duff. All right, here we go.
I'm Ashley Banfield, and this is Drop Dead Serious. Welcome. It's nice to have you here. Thank you for being here. Also, hit subscribe, please. It's a real favor to me, and I sure appreciate it if you already have. Also appreciate our members. Thank you. It is Thursday, February 26th, which means it's 26 days since Nancy Guthrie was taken from her home against her will in Tucson, Arizona. And today, some interesting developments. More video has emerged. This courtesy of Fox News. Michael Ruiz from Fox Digital dropped a bombshell, not going to lie. He went far and wide, maybe farther and wider than the sheriff's department did, outside of the 2-mile radius from Nancy Guthrie's home, because sheriffs asked everybody within a 2-mile radius if they could please check their ring cams, right? Sent out an alert to all of these residents. Please check your doorbell cams, your ring cams, your Nest cams, whatever cams you got for any video that you might have recorded. And it's a big window from Jan 1 to Feb 1. But outside that 2-mile radius, they didn't ask those same questions. So super fascinating. Michael Ruiz went outside and his team went outside the 2-mile radius. And wouldn't you know it, they found somebody with video of vehicles that night, early into that morning, right? The morning of February 1st, when Nancy Guthrie was abducted. And not only did they find, a dozen vehicles driving at night, they found one that was particularly interesting. Let me give you all the details, because I, for one, am astounded that it was Fox that told the sheriff about these videos, not the other way around. It wasn't the sheriff that found these videos because they canvassed, because it's outside of the 2-mile perimeter. So this couple named Elias and Danielle Stratajulius, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, Stratajulius. I'm sorry, Elias and Danielle, if I'm wrong. But they told Fox News that they've got these street-facing ring cameras, right, that caught 12 different cars that were passing by their house on the morning of the abduction. Why does that matter? Well, specifically, it matters because this house is on back roads, and the back roads lead directly out of Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood. And more interestingly, these back roads avoid major intersections. So if you're really smart and you're trying to avoid detection and you don't want cameras or license plate readers to see you driving at that time of night, you might consider taking back roads. I've watched Brian Enton drive those roads during the day. It is really hard to find your way during the day. You either have to really know that neighborhood well, that giant neighborhood, right? Because we're outside the 2-mile zone. Or you may have had to use a little help from, say, a digital directional app like Waze or Google Maps, right? So I'm also fascinated to find out at some point if the FBI has been doing that, finding everybody using those maps in that neighborhood at that time. Because if they were using back roads, it's even harder to get around. So this is interesting about the Stratajulius, their report to Fox News. They said that the police have not canvassed their neighborhood in the last 25 days. So Fox, to their credit, let the FBI and the sheriff know. They alerted them to this video. It is unclear if the video is significant. It is unclear if the vehicles that are on this video are significant to this crime, to this abduction. But what is really interesting is one of the vehicles in all of the 12 that we're showing you, one of the vehicles was caught on camera at 2:36 a.m. on Sunday, February 1st. That time is so important because 2:36 a.m. is roughly 8 minutes after the sheriff told us on the timeline that Nancy's pacemaker separated from her iPhone, right? And it's presumed that that's when she was taken far enough away for the Bluetooth to separate from the iPhone, taken out of the residence. So 8 minutes. Now, what's even more significant is that this house is 2.5 miles away, and it's roughly a 7-minute drive. These cars matter. Like with that kind of a timeline, again, if you're following me, Nancy's pacemaker separates. 8 minutes later, this vehicle is seen on this camera, and it is only roughly a 7-minute drive. So however long it might have taken to get Nancy into a vehicle, get her secured, do whatever they had to do, figure out where they were, make that drive, I could see that being perhaps 8 minutes, right?
Let me stop this right here because I have one thing to say, which I had to let you guys know that so the other night, me and Dot, and there were some people in chat, and we were all trying to figure out this pacemaker thing, right? Dot has a pacemaker. She's my go-to for this part of it. Okay. I mean, I don't know anybody else personally that's going to talk to me about it, what the pacemaker does. So there was a big discussion about the pacemaker the other night. And I was like, I think there were things I weren't getting, like I had too much information. I was information overstimulated. And then watching this brought me, so I said, okay, now I have to rethink my theory of, I believe that she was dead when they took her out of the house. Okay. And then everybody said, well, not only about the pacemaker, but what would be the point in taking her out of the house if she died? I mean, that just ended it there, right? Well, because I don't believe in the ransom either. I don't think this was done for ransom either. I think that was just a red herring. So now I know after today's research, I am back on I think she was dead when she left the house, because here's why. They still could have killed her in the house. And we all know, because we've done all the research on it, her pacemaker will have worked and will continue to work until the battery dies. Pacemakers are set with batteries that will last years upon years. Okay. So that doesn't negate the fact that she couldn't have been killed and then taken out, because the pacemaker could have still been going inside her body and still being detected by the Apple Watch until she got far enough away from the Apple Watch, which we know she did because it disconnected from the Bluetooth at that time. So I'm back to the theory that she was killed in the house. The pacemaker is still working and only disconnected when it got far enough away from her Apple Watch. That's what I'm sticking to right now. Double tap your screens. Thank you guys for being here. I'll try not to stop this again. We're just going to play it through because YouTube has been so nice to us about this and not giving us any kind of warnings or nothing like that. But I feel like we cover our asses pretty well around here. Fair use disclaimer. Copyright Act of 1976 gives allowance for this content to be used purposes of criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. We're floating it across the top, and it's been floating in chat. Don't come for us. All right. Or the Bluetooth was turned off. The watch was turned off. I don't know. All it said was it was disconnecting at that time. So, and it could have been turned off. But I still believe now that I understand that a pacemaker, understand the Bluetooth, understand all that, that she was killed in the house, but the pacemaker either quit registering at a certain time or the Bluetooth was turned off at a certain time. But the fact that when they carried her out, she was gone. That's my opinion.
Sounds like it's perfectly within reason to assume that could be that vehicle. Could also be someone coming home late at night, just coincidentally. It's at 2:36 a.m., you know, but I'd love to know how many cars were out driving at that time of night. How many Teslas were out driving at that time of night whose cameras may have captured? I mean, there's Tesla cameras all around a Tesla. I know because I have one. And you can capture vehicle traffic at that time of night. 2:36 a.m. is not a busy time of night. Yeah, I get it. It's Tucson. There'll be people out driving, but not as many as, say, before 11 at night. Maybe they've got these things. We don't know. The FBI has kept such a tight lid on their investigation, unlike the sheriff, who's sort of given us a lot of different mixed messages and also taken back some of his messaging. Ms. Stradigiulius said that number of cars passing, 12 vehicles passing, I think it's between midnight-ish and 6 a.m., right? On her doorbell cam, not unusual. Not unusual to see roughly a dozen cameras passing. What is unusual to Ms. Stradigiulius and to a friend of hers is that no one from law enforcement had visited the neighborhood. But again, let's be really clear, a 2-mile radius is a lot of homes. Maybe not as many as most of us would assume, because these are big properties, 1 to 4 acres. So maybe not that many homes, but maybe at some point the sheriff and the FBI were planning to expand the radius and ask more people. But I mean, time's a ticking. You know, you don't have forever to capture ring cams. We learned that in the Idaho investigation, that some of these businesses, you know, that had been canvassed for their videos to find the white Elantra, it was already gone. Their video is already gone. So time is of the essence if you're going to grab video. That's why I don't know why they decided on a 2-mile radius. Maybe from the get-go, just capture the data and go through it in order. Start in the center of the concentric circle and move out. And maybe eventually you won't have to get to the houses that are outside the 2-mile radius. But now you might be SOL. I mean, luckily Fox was able to get this, but you might be SOL. You know what? Out of luck. I'm not supposed to swear. My husband hates it. I know some of you don't mind. Shit out of luck. Okay. And pardon me if that upsets you. So, but you might be out of luck if you're now trying to go and canvass all those houses in around Danielle and Elisa's neighborhood. But super great reporting from Fox on this street-facing ring cam. So interestingly, Fox actually did a further investigation. And what they did was they asked a retired NYPD detective and a national security expert named Pat Brosnan to review the video with them. I tried to do it, and I saw a lot of the comments saying, hey, can you slow it down? It's hard to do it on your iPhone. You have to do it on a computer. Even then, the images aren't always super perfect where you can slow it down. But Pat Brosnan, the expert that Fox conferred with.
Walking makes you old. Tai Chi makes you young. Make it a habit.
Tomorrow, we're starting the Tai Chi program for beginners. Build strength and lose belly fat. It will only take 7 minutes a day.
He seemed to feel that he could assess this 2:36 a.m. vehicle captured on the camera as a Kia Soul, S-O-U-L, a Kia Soul, based on slanted roof, the design of the windows, and the rear quarter glass. He also noted that there are vertical brake lights. Now, that is not an official assessment. That's not like we heard from the Idaho, the Moscow police said, we're on the lookout for a white Elantra, period. White Elantra, right? Gave us a range and dates, but white Elantra. This is a retired NYPD detective and a national security expert. So for what it's worth, let's keep our ears open and our eyes open in case we hear in the coming days that law enforcement sources are asking, or law enforcement authorities are telling us to keep our eyes open for video of a specific vehicle. Till now, on day 26, we still have no vehicle to look out for. All these eyeballs on this story, all these potential, crime solvers have not been alerted to any vehicles to look out for. This is pretty interesting. It also makes me think, well, what do they have inside the 2-mile zone? If this is outside the 2-mile zone, what do you got inside the 2-mile zone? If you've been able to do what this expert, Pat Brosnan, was able to do, why haven't you told us to look out for this? I'm fascinated, again, because the FBI is involved as well. This is not just a Pima County investigation anymore. So I know people have been piling on, and I've been, part of that, onto some of the missteps of the sheriff's department. But the FBI is involved too. So I'm just really interested. Did you not have any luck in finding any video on that morning? This isn't a January 11th video, right? This is that morning, that time, within, 8 minutes and a 7-minute drive away. So super, super interesting. Okay, so I'm going to ask Maureen O'Connell about this in just a moment. She's just, chef's kiss on her knowledge base, former FBI special agent and, security expert in her own right. So I'm going to talk to her about that in a second. But I also want to tell you a bit of other news that I've learned from my law enforcement source. And I think this is really fascinating stuff. We've kind of lost sight of the Range Rover, the silver Range Rover, right? That was towed and license plate covered and taken into evidence and assuming processed by law enforcement sources after that February 13th, Friday night raid. Do you remember just the massive law enforcement response to the neighborhood that was only about 2 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's home? And a woman and another young man and then another man at a different location at a Culver's restaurant, all detained while that house was searched. Okay, found out some information about it from my source. Here is what I've learned. The Range Rover, as of several days ago, still part of the investigation, right? Also, what I learned was that the Range Rover, because we all wondered, the Range Rover looked dirty and dusty. It looked like it had been in the Culver's parking lot for a while, but the guy was sitting in a law enforcement vehicle in cuffs being questioned. Did he connect to it? Yes. The answer is, according to my source, yes, he was connected. He was the one driving that Range Rover. Did he own it? That is unclear. And even that was being sort of bandied about through law enforcement. And what my source says, connected to that vehicle, possibly using that vehicle for illegal activities. That's what my law enforcement said. They were trying to assess the ownership of it, not necessarily that he owned it, but he had been driving it that night. In fact, a law enforcement plane had been following him for quite some time prior to the raid. That is super interesting. So he was under that kind of surveillance from above, from a plane. Why the Culvers? So my source told me that the woman in the home is definitely his mom. Couldn't tell me about the other man being his brother, but there was some reporting that was unconfirmed that the other person was his brother. But the woman who was taken from the home and, according to the New York Times, taken to a neighbor's, and the neighbor was asking, you just help her to stay here, keep her comfortable while we search the hell out of her house with a warrant. So he had been at the house. The man who was detained at the Culvers had been at his home with his mother and went out to get food, went out to pick up food. And that, according to my source, was the time that they decided this was a good time to hook him up, put the cuffs on, detain, ask questions. So they followed him to the Culvers as he was thinking he was going to go grab some food and come home. And that's when they all simultaneously, went into action. Grabbed his mom, pulled her out, and the young man, and then grabbed him with a separate set of units at the Culvers. So I'm told by my source that they seized their phones and that they still had them. As several days ago, they still had those phones because it could take weeks to process whatever material they wanted to get out of those phones. And you understand, grabbing phones isn't just an automatic thing. There's a process, there's a privacy issue, there's warranting, there's all sorts of stuff that you have to do. And it could actually take some time if there are, say, encrypted apps on phones. So they're going to take apparently several weeks from February 13th. And here we are, February 26th. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. Exactly that raid happened and that those detainees were held, questioned, and released with no charges. Okay, why him? This is interesting. So in order to get the warrant, my law enforcement source tells me, in order to get the warrant to come after this guy and the home he was in with his mom and whoever else it was, they used cell phone data, his criminal history, including illegal trafficking. They used the fact that he had a similar description as the suspect on the doorbell cam. And here's the big one. They had a specific tip from a person. They had a specific tip from a person. So they used all of that to go to a judge or a magistrate, whoever it was that signed off on the warrant and got that warrant. And again, since they had been trailing him with the plane from above, my assumption is that that warrant was kind of in place and ready to go for a little while, because they decided exactly on the time, and that they'd wait, as he went out to get food, that they'd grab him separately and go through the house at a separate time. So lots of really, really interesting information. And then this last piece that I found so fascinating, I have not been able to put my finger on why the law enforcement source, or the law enforcement members who were on scene at the Culvers and searching, photographing the silver SUV, the silver Range Rover. And then suddenly they put up those privacy shields, and we all lost our ever-loving minds, because we thought, oh my God, that's usually a body. You're putting up privacy shields like that, it usually means you're about to take a body out of the back of a vehicle. So up went the back, hatch of the Range Rover, up went the privacy shields. Cameras were everywhere. I've learned why. It was not because they suspected a body was inside. It was not. It was because we were all there with cameras. They were well aware, the agents on the ground and the sheriff's deputies on the ground were well aware of the number of cameras that could have a direct line of sight into the back of this vehicle. And so that is the only reason. They just wanted to get a better look at the evidence inside the back of the vehicle and not give us that same right, right? So those shields went up just so that they could get eyes on without the window, without the dirty window in between them. But it was not because they had seen anything through those windows that they suspected at the time was a body. It was just solely that, just to keep us prying eyes. And it worked, because all we saw was privacy shields, right? But my God, did it ever lead to crazy speculation that, my God, there might be a body in there, right? And it all dispelled the next day when the sheriff's department said nobody arrested, the detainees released, and that yes, a raid had been executed that night. So lots of really interesting information on that. And as of about a week ago, Brian Enton had said that there was some meat on the bones of that investigation. Super fascinating. Meat on the bones meant that they would still be looking at that. We have not had an update from the sheriff or from the FBI as to the significance of that raid or that part of the investigation. But now that I know that it takes, several weeks, so that they had planned to take several weeks to extract information from the phones that they had seized in that raid, makes sense. They still have a lot of work to do, and they've got that evidence. So you don't release it till you've exhausted all of that work. All right. So I told you about Maureen O'Connell, and let me tell you, I turned to her, and I have for years, by the way. You may just be seeing her if you're new to the true crime world because of all the work that she's been doing lately on this particular story and her analysis. But I've been interviewing and watching Maureen O'Connell for a very long time because she's smart. She is a former FBI special agent and host of the podcast Best Case, Worst Case, an all-around really smart lady. And I'm going to talk to her in 1 second, but first, quick note from my sponsors. It's that time of year again, tax time, always stressful. Ugh. Maybe you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns, or maybe you pulled money from Hello. Now here's my conversation with Maureen O'Connell. What do you make of this new series of images? All these vehicles, a dozen vehicles passing by someone's ring cam a half mile outside of the perimeter that they had canvassed for people's videos.
I'm so happy. I could jump up and down. It's always going to come back to a vehicle. So many crimes start with the vehicle, end with the vehicle, and the arrests are a result of a vehicle. So I am very, very happy. If we were able to tell what type of car it is, we can start looking in other places for it. Just the color and the shape, and even if you can narrow it down to 2 or 3 different vehicles, it's gonna be great. Hopefully, this is the break we've all been praying for.
Well, let me bring this up again. A retired NYPD detective and national security expert named Pat Brosnan told Fox that his review of their video suggests it's a Kia Soul based on the slanted roof, the window design, the rear quarter glass, and the vertical brake lights.
These cops know their cars because they're always looking for cars. We're always looking at surveillance tape, and we're always trying to figure out who people are and what shady behavior they're up to. So if he says that's what it is, he's probably real close. And if I'm not mistaken, that's a very square body, isn't it, on that Kia Soul? Yeah.
So I don't know my cars, but it looked like it on the video.
Yeah. All right. I can't wait to see that. That's excellent news.
It is. And I'm so interested to hear that the time is 2:36 a.m., which is just 8 minutes after Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker was separated. And it's roughly only a 7-minute drive between these two homes. That's got to mean something.
It definitely means something. Whenever you get information on a case, Ashley, throwing it up on the timeline is always really important, and it can tell you a lot of things. And that is so close to the time that this potentially happened, and when her pacemaker separated from her phone. Yeah. So her phone was left in her bedroom, and it sounds like they got her out the front door. And when she probably got onto the front porch, her pacemaker lost connection with the phone. And that's probably where this vehicle pulled up, and they put her in the vehicle
and drove off. And so I keep thinking about this neighborhood. It's very, very dark, very hard to navigate, but somebody might have decided that this is a back road that leads out of Mrs. Guthrie's neighborhood and avoids the major intersections. You'd either have to know your way around in the dark of night, or you'd be using some kind of a navigation app. I can only imagine the FBI has been able to at least tap some kind of intelligence on the use of navigation apps in that exact neighborhood at that exact time.
Yeah, or you could roll old school and just and do a couple of dry runs. Do dry runs in the day and a couple dry runs at night, which are a lot harder. And when they're coming down that street, they probably had their headlights off. It had to be just pitch black, or just their parking lights, because you don't want to draw attention. And you never know when someone's going to just be walking their dog in the middle of the night. So you just got to be very careful. My guess is they pulled.
I don't know how you'd see, though, without headlights. It is pitch black because of the University of Arizona's contract to keep the lights down for the astronomy programs.
Right. Well, you have a cabin. Our family has one, and it's pitch dark. And sometimes I just turn the lights off to see how dark it is. And could I drive around here at night? And no, only if you know it really, really well. But I'm just saying that when they pulled up to the house, they likely turned the lights off completely, pulled into the driveway, not the circle driveway. I would say the driveway to the side, but you'd have to have your lights off there just in case she was already up in the middle of the night,
Welcome to Klondike Adventures game. I promise it's the best one you've ever seen. Explore ancient temples, breathtaking woods, embark on voyages to icy mountains.
Yeah,
some people can't sleep.
So the other thing I was wondering is if they were able to capture these images from a ring cam that was pointed towards the street 2.5 miles away, they must have something similar within the 2-mile radius, no?
Yes. I mean, those houses are set so far back. You can have cameras all around your house. You're not going to be able to see to the street. You may see that there is a light going by, but you're not going to see much else because there's no ambient light out there. There's no street lights. So that I think I think they've beaten that point to death. I am disappointed that when they didn't get any information from their original perimeter, that they didn't extend the perimeter. I'm very disappointed in that.
That's my next question is, I thought about a 2-mile radius. That's a lot of property. That's a lot of, that's a big area. But these properties are all big. They're not stacked against each other. You're not talking about tens of thousands of homeowners. You're talking about a few hundred. Why would they have even chosen 2 miles? Why not just start really big and then pick your investigations,
No,
in
because
the
you're
middle
gonna.
of the concentric circle? Because those videos could be overwritten by now.
Yeah, but I mean, they were asking for them right at the very beginning. And the bottom line is, even when you consider things like most traffic collisions or most accidents happen within a 1 or 2 mile radius of your house, because that's where you are most of the time. We know for a fact they were at Nancy's house. We know for a fact they left Nancy's house. So I think a 2 mile perimeter is a really good starting point. But when that didn't, prove, when nothing came of that, it's time to open your perimeter, open your aperture a little bit more, and let's see what we can come up with, even if it's another quarter of a mile all the way around or something.
Yeah, my
Or
concern about
just the
that
areas
is
near the
timing.
back road, wherever there's an
Think about it.
egress.
Everybody's different in their settings, but a lot of these things overwrite. Like you can't sort of say, well, let's say in a month we don't get anywhere. Let's go ask people for video a month from now. Well, you're not going to get it. The time to ask is right away. Remember in Moscow, they were asking businesses for video a little too late, and they said, sorry, it's overwritten already. You got to ask for it right away. Why not cast a really wide net and then just start gumshoeing through it?
Well, what I didn't mean to wait a month. I meant, within those first couple days when you didn't get anything that was fruitful, open it up a little. Start asking for mutual aid and get people to go to those areas, at least along the roads that lead out of there, because my understanding is there aren't that many. And if this is the one that avoids the major intersections, that's definitely one to look at. You would think.
And we don't know if the sheriff or the FBI is going to release this to the public saying, hey, everybody, let's start looking for a vehicle we think might be a Kia Soul, like the Moscow police said with the white Elantra. We just don't know if there's evidentiary value here. All we know is what Fox was able to find from these neighbors, and the fact that the neighbors were surprised they weren't canvassed. I guess we'll watch this space for that. Let's move on to the other topic, and that is the silver Range Rover that we all seem to have forgotten about is still,
I didn't forget about it.
Yeah, right. It's still in play. And I've learned from, my law enforcement source that the guy they were targeting was at his mom's house and then, left to go pick up food. And that's when they decided to move in 2 different locations and grab the mom, pull her out of the home and search the home and grab him in the Culver's parking lot. And it turns out he was driving the silver Range Rover and they had a law enforcement plane overhead. Any of that a surprise to you?
No. Because it probably had something to do with cell phones, because anyone that was in that area, they were part of that geofence region. And so they were probably looking at this guy, and it was I don't know if they must have had the tag if they had the bird up.
Yeah, my source said that the plane had been following them for a while, end quote.
Yeah.
Like, quote unquote,
so
for a while.
So they had the tag. They knew when that truck was purchased. Or leased. My understanding is a truck just like that on the surround of the license plate, it had the name of the dealership, and they had pretty much that truck on their website as being sold just a couple of days before before Nancy's attack or abduction.
So we weren't able to find out if he owned that. My source only said that he was connected to that vehicle, could have been using it for criminal activity, and was driving it at that time. So that was the connection. He was connected to that silver Range Rover. But the other interesting thing is that they used criminal history of illegal trafficking, the fact that he physically had a similar description as the person on the Ring cam or on the doorbell cam at Nancy's house. They used cell data, you were right, and that they had a specific tip from a person. That's a lot of stuff. And it sounds to me like that's an easy warrant.
That's probable cause. Yeah, right there. You've got probable cause. So that's good. And people were saying, oh, they got him and then they let him go. Yeah, probable cause will get you the warrant, but it's not going to always get you the arrest. You just have to relax and understand that.
So the other issue my source told me was that they got the phones in that raid, and as of just a few days ago, they still had them, but that it could take, quote, weeks in order to extract the information that they might be looking for.
Well, it's not going to take, I mean, it probably wouldn't take that long to get a lot of stuff off the phone, but for encrypted apps where you're going to find anything you really want to see, that's going to take a lot longer. And I'm, obviously they're not cooperating, or it all would have been extracted already.
A lot of people have been talking about these 2 raids that we've watched, and that those who were hooked up in those raids and detained and then released, and if they're innocent, they could it's actionable, that they could sue the department. It's really, really hard to sue the government. It's really hard to sue the police. But I am sort of curious about the mother of this guy, because now my source says this is his mother in the house. She's pulled out of her house. She's taken, according to the New York Times, to the neighbor, where the FBI agents say, could you just look after her for a while we raid her house? Does she have a case, given that she's not the person, she's not the target?
No, but she lives in the house. Yeah. If they have a warrant for the house, they've got a warrant for the house. It happens all the time. We would have a warrant for, like, a drug warrant, and it's for let's say one guy named John, and he lives there with 3 or 4 other people. We're looking for narcotics. We're looking for narcotics that we can tie directly to John. And we ask questions of those people that live there when we find stuff. Who does this belong to? Who has dominion and control over this particular room? Or is this his room? Where is his room? All that kind of stuff. And we're able to search the whole house, but we want to be able to tie whatever evidence we find to the offender that we're looking at.
Even if he doesn't live there?
So he doesn't live, the son doesn't live there?
I'm not sure. I'm just curious. If he doesn't live there, they still have that same full right to raid the house if he spends time there.
He must be spending the night there. And so he stays there, and they had to bed him down in that location. There had to be a number of different data points to tie him to that location. And oftentimes they'll have to, what we call, bed him down there, meaning we take him there, we follow him there, and we watch his car, and it stays there until, let's say, 11:30 or 12 at night. And then you either sit on it all night, or you come back the next morning at 5, and the car is still there. You've now bedded that guy down in that location.
It's interesting. What do you make of the whole use of privacy shields, given that my source said it wasn't about a body? They didn't see a body through the windows. They just wanted to open the hatch, get a good look at what was in the back of the silver Range Rover, and just knew that there were just a lot of prying eyes with camera lenses nearby. And they put those privacy shields up for that reason.
I think it's smart. I would do it. I would absolutely do it. We would put those pop-up tents up if we thought we had human remains, and even though it wasn't remains there, I don't know what was back there. Maybe they didn't know what was back there, because those windows appeared to be tinted pretty dark. So maybe they weren't sure what they were going to find. And then when you reach in and you lift up a blanket.
But my source did say they didn't suspect it was a body, and that they put the shields up not because they thought there was a body, just because they wanted to look at the evidence without all the reporters seeing it.
That makes sense. I would absolutely do that myself. Yeah. Because nothing is, the press has been omnipresent with their drones up all around the house since the very beginning. And, it's just this insatiable desire for evidence.
Watch what magnesium does to your bowels.
Why does grandma's tummy look pregnant? This blocks your bowels. This blocks your bowels. And this blocks your bowels. Here's why.
This is the quick.
But we have to, or the law enforcement has to protect the investigation. As much as we want to know everything and we want to know it right now, they're charged with, just for Nancy, for her sake, we're trying to protect all the evidence.
Well, it is an insanely high profile case. I mean, I don't have to tell anybody that. If they're watching this podcast, they know it. to that end, what do you make of the activity outside the house yesterday? All the folks showing up in blue suits and walking around the perimeter and walking inside, and the black SUVs with the tinted window, one of them going into the garage, and the garage door coming down and then it leaving quickly an hour later. Like, what's your read on all the
for that
activity?
garage door, by the way. 11 seconds to go up, 11 seconds to come down, because I'm always thinking about that garage door and that 2 minutes and her getting in the house. And I always think whoever dropped her off had to go out a different door, because that's just not enough time, to
Really?
open the garage door, have Nancy walk in, because the police chief said initially
2 minutes. Yeah.
2
Door went
minutes,
up, and
but
2 minutes later it came down.
family members got her in the house, got her settled, and got out. You can't do that in that amount of time with an 84-year-old woman with mobility issues. So I timed that. But I think it was probably Savannah in the SUV, in the black SUV that was with the smoked out windows, that went into the garage and closed the door. And she was probably going in there. If they're operating, since the sheriff has completely cleared everyone in the family and anyone related to them. Whatever. We're not going to get into that. But maybe they're operating under the assumption that this is some sort of a stalker situation. And if that's the case, the things that would be missing would be Savannah's personal items that might be in her room, like old photos or who knows what. People in situations like this are obviously uber creepy, but they could have just wanted photos of her or some memento that made him or him feel like, she's my girlfriend or something. So
That's
maybe
a
she just
really
went up
good
into.
point. I never thought of that they might have said, we need to go in and assess the inside of the house to see the things that might be missing that maybe we overlooked because it wasn't valuables.
Right. Well, initially you're going to look for valuables because that's your assumption. At first blush, that's what this looked like. It's someone who it's a kidnapping and kidnapped for ransom, but that turned out not to be the case, or who knows what this is going to shake out to be, because it's just nothing any of us have ever seen before. But then if you move to someone is stalking her, it would make sense that they're going to take some trophies from her, or what people call trophies. So maybe they had her go in to see what was missing. She was also there not long ago when her mom did that show. And, so they already got what Annie and her husband walked them through the house initially. And so they allowed them to tell them what was askew, this is exactly how it always is. Mom keeps her iPad here. That's where it is. That, this is out of place. This isn't.
That would be the morning that you're talking about, Sunday morning when they called for help.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry. So yeah, that morning they were able to walk law enforcement through the house. So today, I think they wanted, my guess, it's just an assumption, but my guess is they wanted Savannah to walk through and see if there's anything she could find that was missing or askew or, whatever. Because the person spent 41 minutes in there, and that's a long, long time.
Well, I keep wondering if they did. We only know that the camera was tampered with, but we don't know if that meant that the person entered the house at the time they tampered with the camera. I'm not sure. I'm still, my jury's out on that one. I don't know when they actually entered the house. We don't know the entry time. We just know the separation of the pacemaker time. So I'm curious about that. What do you make of the report that I was able to get from another law enforcement source that the blood droplets inside the house were the same pattern as the blood droplets outside the house, meaning there wasn't a sign of struggle, there wasn't footprints through them. It was more just the same droplet pattern that we witnessed, on the video outside the house.
Well, wherever she was bleeding from, the blood droplets were able to drop then, just drop straight down. And because the ones on the porch were all round and appeared to, I didn't get a good enough look at them, but they'll be able to tell, the blood experts will be able to tell exactly how far these droplets fell and whether they came from her mouth or not, because if it came from her mouth, they'll be able to find saliva and other things in there. Just the whole thing is just, we do everything in our lives to just treat the vulnerable members of our community the best way we can, and then to have something like this happen, it just breaks everyone's hearts. I
I
mean,
think it's why everyone's watching so intently, why it's so high profile. It's not just that it's Savannah's mom, it's just who does something like this, that part of the story. I was not able to find out from my source where in the house those blood droplets were, but my source did say that there were a couple things that stood out to them. That was number one, the front doorbell cam gone. My original source, different source, had said smashed. Back door wide open, blood droplets on the ground, and that the immediate reference was to tell the responding units, got to get out of here. Do not contaminate the scene. This is more to it than a missing woman who might have wandered off. So I don't know if that means
so
that
strange.
that the blood droplets may have been right there in that front entrance area because they were able to witness the door open, or whether they canvassed around the house and saw the blood droplets somewhere there. I can't tell you that. It would be helpful to know where the blood droplets were, though. And then couple that information with Savannah using the words in her video a couple days ago, where she announced that the reward would be $1 million from the family. She used the words, "My mom was taken in the dark of night from her bed, taken from her bed in the dark of night." And I didn't know if she was, literal or if it was literal. And Savannah is a journalist and she is a broadcaster and she knows words matter. It was the same terminology the sheriff used early on, and then walked back the next day saying, "I didn't think you'd take me literally. It was just being figurative." But if Savannah was being literal and not figurative, that's a big piece of information that Nancy Guthrie
Savannah's
may
not
have been
going to be
actually
figurative.
That's what I thought. Taken from her bed.
Yes, and the other reason I would guess that the blood was in the bedroom is because Annie and her husband were probably looking around the house and maybe not looking at that other side of the bed where the slider door is, but her mom had hearing issues. And if the person was yelling commands at her, she would not be able to hear them. And that may have been what caused whatever injury she had, because they thought she was ignoring them or whatever, and even trying to yank on her or something to get her out of the bed. And she had to, put her hearing aids in, because I know a couple of, I have a sister that can't hear without her hearing aids. And I mean, she can't hear anything. And so it's frightening. First of all, to be that frightened. Secondly, to not have your hearing aids in and you can't even communicate. It's just the worst case scenario.
Well, and Maureen, the New York Times did a piece talking to Nancy Guthrie's friends, and one of the friends said that she had recently begun using powerful hearing aids, which you're spot on. Her hearing would be very compromised if she was using powerful, those are the words used, hearing aids.
Tai Chi walking is more than just a workout. It's a fresh start for menopausal women. We start on Monday, March 2nd.
Yep. She's 84. It happens.
Let's talk a little bit about there's so much sleuthing going on online, and there's an image, if you zoom in on the perpetrator's pocket, there's something sticking out of the perpetrator's pocket. I thought
Of course, I muted myself. I'm going to stop it right here because I want to keep my channel. I have something to say about this part that's coming up right here, you guys. Early on, we were all talking about what could be in that pocket. I thought it was like a cell phone. Somebody said maybe a wallet. Maureen O'Connell, who is an ex FBI agent as well, is going to say about this is freaking impressing. But like I said, I don't know how to zoom in, change colors, make anything look right. I don't know about that. I will tell you guys this, JB, who is been, she's an OG here as well. She's always been with us. She is FBI retired 20 years. She's highly respected in this community. She's been such a great help helping me and all of us understand why FBI would do this and why the police would do that. I mean, she's full of knowledge, and I'm so grateful for her. But she worked at Quantico, I think, with Maureen O'Donnell, if I'm not right. Listen, I've heard so many stories from JB. I love them so much. And I'm pretty sure she said that they worked together at Quantico. And she said Maureen O'Donnell's a good lady. And now I won't say which one she's not fond of, but she said this one right here knows her shit. Hello to everybody who's come in. I appreciate you guys so much. Will you guys do me a favor and hit the like? I don't know how many thumbs up we have, but I try to get 100 every time I go live. And I don't feel like that's asking too much. I don't ask you guys to sub. You don't have to sub up if you don't want to. You don't have to worry about becoming a member. I don't need your money. Me and my friends pay for this channel so that I can continue to go live. So we pay StreamYard. So the only thing I ask is that you guys do thumbs up for me. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you guys. Let's finish this up. But listen to what she says about what's in his pocket. I haven't heard anybody say this yet. It may have been, you guys may have heard it. I haven't. But I was blown away, kind of.
At first, it was the corner of an iPhone. But as I read through a lot of other folks who've put in their thoughts, some said it looked like maybe a lockpick pen, which I didn't realize. I mean, it stands to reason. A lockpick pen kind of looks like it might be that. Or maybe even a walkie-talkie, which some people have said, well, that suggests that this person was working with an accomplice.
It could be a lockpick, I guess, but it looks to me, and I'm pardon me while I look down here, but it looks to me to be just a radio, like a radio antenna. I'm looking for that one.
Like a walkie-talkie?
Yep, like a walkie-talkie, because these guys didn't have phones on them. If they had phones on them and the Bureau didn't pick them up, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. But if you look at that, if you look at some of these walkie-talkies that people have, you could call the car up without using your phone. You could tell your buddy, hey, pull it up into the Circle Drive now. And yeah, just like these.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, Rebecca. I don't know why I can't see some people in here. Hello.
Very small area of an image looks like the antenna of a walkie-talkie, more so than the edge of a phone.
Much more so than the edge of a phone. And I asked my husband, who was a police officer for 38 years, and he said that's absolutely a radio. And I said, babe, we can't say that. That's just conjecture. And he goes, I carried a radio for 38 years. I know what it looks like. And it stands just like that when it's in your pocket. And you can't zip the pocket all the way closed because you have to have the antenna. You can fit an iPhone in any pocket. I mean, if that's the top of an iPhone, you're not going to let your iPhone hang out like that, because the last thing you want is to get into a struggle with someone and leave your iPhone at the crime scene. But this, you can cinch it up just to the just over the top of the radio portion and let the antenna stick out of your pocket.
Well, that would be huge if it was determined.
Do you guys remember us talking about, or I was talking to you guys about when he walks up to the front door and he's like, goes to touch the camera and stuff. And then when he turns around, I guess, to go find something to put over the camera, he kind of looks to the left. And he's walking down towards where the arch is. And then he's still looking at the left after he walks out of the portico where the arch is. And then he kind of stops and then he looks over the right. And it's kind of like he's like, oh, bingo. It just is that kind of a thing, the way that I'm watching him. And I've always said, somebody's talking to him. Somebody's telling him where the key is. And we all think we know that he's wearing at least one more set of gloves than what we see. So if he's wearing 2 gloves, it would be really hard to hurry up and grab a key. If there was a key left out there, it would just make more sense just to grab, just pick up the whole handful and throw out whatever. But That's what I thought at first until he went back up there and he was like maneuvering the flowers around to try to cover up the camera. But I still think he was talking to somebody. So the whole walkie-talkie thing makes complete sense to me, because even if you are not talking on your phone and your phone is turned on in your pocket, it could still be picked up. That's why people usually will turn off their phone, like when they're going to commit a crime, and then they make sure they're, as far away as they can before they turn it back on, so it's not picked up. So walkie-talkies make a shit ton of sense to me. All right, let's finish this up.
That this is a radio, because it does certainly
Hey,
speak to
Miss
the possibility
June.
of somebody else being a part of this.
Right.
Sometimes I just, in my own personal thoughts, I think, I hope there was an accomplice.
Ashley,
And I know
welcome.
it's
Thank
not
you.
necessarily a sexual crime, because so few sexual crimes would involve an accomplice. And people,
Don't kid
who think,
yourself.
really,
People are savages.
I mean, I know, and most people who don't live the world that you and I live, and you more so than me, would say, well, who would think to sexually assault an 84-year-old woman? And unfortunately, so many times in our, line of work, we see it. We just do. We see people who just do, and they're not off limits. The elderly are not off limits for these kinds of crimes, which is just unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, but sometimes it doesn't actually involve an essay on the person. Sometimes just the fear you see in someone's face gives you sexual gratification. That's a whole different story, but that happens all the time too. Sometimes they just get off on the fear. Unbelievable.
Okay, last question. It may seem like it's kind of a small thing. Usually,
let me really quick welcome Ashley. Welcome to the Love Bugs, girlfriend. Thank you for being here. They say that you can still track your phone with it off. Is that what the geofencing thing is? You may be right about that, but I mean, they would be complete idiots to have the phone anywhere in their vicinity. And I mean, walkie-talkies are perfect for that. Miss June says, did you get the message? Which one, Love Bug? Did you leave it on the channel somewhere? Tomato sauce might be in custody. Let me check it out while you guys finish listening to this. The last question Ashley's going to ask Maureen O'Donnell. I'll check it out.
An afterthought, an asterisk, whatever. But the sheriff yesterday put parking restrictions in place. No parking on either side of the street, all up and down where Nancy Guthrie lives. And again, that may seem like nothing to people until you realize the logistics of what it takes to broadcast from a location. And that location has been a broadcast location for 26 days. Is this the sheriff trying to get rid of the media on this story? Or is there some other legitimate reason you can see why that would happen? That kind of a restriction would be, get out of here. You can't have your gear here. You can hump it from blocks away to set up your camera location, but you can't park here and you can't use your vehicle for shelter or power or temperature control, any of that. What would you see as the reason for this?
I see a number of, I see a number of things that could be happening, but then they're saying that they're turning the house over to the Guthrie family again. When I first heard this, my first thought was they're going to come in with a forensics team and go over the entire house. And even though it would be it would be really, really difficult for the prosecution, if they could maybe find 3 or 4 other points with some good DNA in there, because no one's been in the house, even though it hasn't been sealed or anything. No one else has been in the house. And the press has been around there pretty much the whole time. I mean, I don't know. I would give it another shot before I would turn it over to the family. I would look at every.
But I mean, the reporters are still there. The reporters can still be there. They just can't
but they're not going to be there as long. They can't.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Is the sheriff, I wondered if it was punitive, get the hell out of here, you've been horrible to me, or if it was really strategic, if there's some I just don't see a lot of strategy.
I hope there's a strategy.
Doing this.
I hope it's a strategy, and I hope it involves an evidence response team getting in there and just going bananas, because the one thing you want if you bring a big team in there is you want the whole street. You want everybody to be able to park their vehicles, have all their stuff, open their trunks, without people, all up in their business. The same thing like you talked about with those tarps that they were holding up. Nobody likes to work under those conditions, because a lot of this type of work requires, especially if you have younger people on the scene, they'll say, so for a scene like this, do you think it's better to use this or that? And you can't have anyone else hear that, because then you're going to get ripped apart on the stand. Because sometimes it's just a matter of, hey, do I use these cotton gloves under these nitrile gloves, or do you think I should use this other one because you sweat a lot? And someone with experience would be able to just say, you do this. It's what law enforcement is. We help out and mentor the younger generation, and so if it was something like that,
yeah,
if it's something like that, I'd be so happy, because even though it would be a long, hard road, I think they could get a lot from it. I don't know what the search and evidence collection actually looked like those first 48 hours, and I've seen how well the Pima County Sheriff deputies are working with the FBI. They're all getting along great at the boots on the ground, but it's usually just the managers that are fighting with each other, or the hires up.
Listen, I don't know this business as well as you guys do, but I am just astounded that the bracket for the Nest Cam was left on the house, because if that guy had a bite light in his mouth, the only way to get a bite light in and out of your mouth is to take it, put it in, or
And you
take
got
it out
saliva
with
everywhere.
your
I've been
hands.
saying that since the beginning.
And your hands are then messing with that camera and bracket. And the only thing left behind was the bracket. So I just didn't understand why that bracket wasn't taken in the first place. And then what do you
Plus
know?
the rug
2 weeks
on
later
the
it was.
The rug.
The Half Moon rug was there. It was left behind. The foliage that had dropped below. I mean, I really hope what you're saying is right, is that a massive evidence response team is going to come in, not so much for the prosecution. I get it. There's a lot of chance for some of that ship to have sailed, but to find her, that's the number one priority. Find her, and then prosecute after. I get it. It's important, but the most important thing is just find her, whatever it takes.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of activity. There's a lot of bees buzzing around. Just this since Savannah offered up that $1 million money reward. Yeah, thanks. Sorry. But if no one comes forward for $1 million, what does that tell you? They can't, because they're the person who did it. I mean, when there's two or more, they're in a pressure cooker right now. One knows that the other one could pull the plug on them, and vice versa. And right now they've got nothing. They didn't get anything out of this.
Maureen, it's great talking to you. I'm just so thankful that you take time out of your busy day. And I know you had a 12-hour day today, so I'm really thankful. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
So there you have it. I will be fascinated.
All right, y'all. That's it. Just real quick to Miss June, I looked it up 30 minutes ago. The New York Times reported that still at the time that they did their update, nobody has been arrested in the Nancy Guthrie case. Now, maybe what you saw, first let me say hello to Sankey. Come on in here and have a discussion with us. And you're welcome to disagree with me all you want to, even if you do understand the case. I don't mind. I don't mind people disagreeing with me. That's how I end up learning things, because you might be right and I'm wrong. And also I wanted to say thank you to Ashley. She said, thank you for the welcome. Glad to join. I've been watching since the beginning. It's so sad. Well, goodness gracious. I'm so glad you found the courage to jump out from up there in the naked bushes, come down here. We're easy people to talk to. And I love hearing people's opinions and just thoughts, even if we're not doing this, even if we're all just in here having a joking around day. I love talking to people. So thank you. I appreciate you. I will tell you guys this, Miss June, might be what you were seeing. So was it last night or the night before? Y'all, it's all running together. You understand. There was Brian Enton. I saw him report, I think it was yesterday afternoon, that because I think I would have talked about it if because I didn't go live yesterday. So I think it was yesterday afternoon. They said something weird was happening. This guy was driving past Nancy's house really, really slow, 50 to 100. He said, not kidding, 50 to 100 times. And then, so I always try to get the last checkup from Brian. He always gives us like the daily brief at, he gives us one in the beginning of the day and then one at the end of the day. And if something's going on, then he'll post during that time. So by the end of the day, I noticed JLR had video going on it saying he didn't know why, but they were actually detaining somebody from that car. Apparently, y'all, whoever that was, he was high as a kite and he was still smoking reefer. I mean, you gotta do sometimes, y'all, what you gotta do. No hate here, no judgment here. But I mean, dude, I guess just didn't figure that what he was doing was looking suspicious, because they said that they could see he was holding up a picture of Nancy Guthrie on his phone, like driving past and kind of coming to a rolling stop in front of her house and looking and then driving on. He'd flip around and come back. And they said anywhere from 50 to 100 times before the police finally said a pullover. So he was arrested for a DUI. And his car was impounded. But they don't think that, they just think he was being a looky-loo. He got a little smashed. He got a little smashed before he could figure out what the hell he was doing. And they got him. In fact, there are pictures out there I saw of him, and he's laughing, y'all. So he was just, listen, he was feeling good. He didn't know nothing was going on until he woke up this morning. So I'm sure they threw him in the pokey for a little while in the drunk take. And then depending on what kind of record he has, let him go and he'll have a court date. I mean, people do silly stuff. I probably would be that would be me, you guys. I would look sus as hell, because when that murder happened across the street from my daughter, I had just started my channel, and she texted me and she said, we got a real life true crime thing going on over here. I thought she was just fucking with me, right? And I was like, what's going on? What's going on? That's funny. What'd you do? I thought she had just done something, And she's like, no, really. There's police tape up, house across the street, police taped up around it. There's police everywhere. They're even parked in my driveway, like they're everywhere. And I was like, why don't you have your camera on FaceTime? Well, her husband is a 20-year veteran, you guys. He just got out of the military 20 years ago. And he's been to war 3 times, bless his heart. And he's just very hyper vigilant. And she said, Mom, he's going to have a problem with me doing that. I was like, problem or not, I don't care. Like, this is important. Now, I would have jumped in the car and ran myself right over there, but that was an hour and a half away. And I was babysitting. I had my grandkids here with me. I couldn't exactly take them over there to that. And so, y'all, she was nursing her baby still. And she stayed up till 4 a.m. with her camera her cell phone in the window until it died, because we saw the corner. So we're watching this the whole time unfold, right? It started like at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then the next thing we know, like it's 11 or 12 o'clock at night. And we see the coroner van pull up and kind of go diagonally. But we would have been able to see the body, the body bag be wheeled out. And y'all, I have a sick sense of, I'm really morbid. Oh, I was wanting to see it so bad. But then her phone died. I was like, wait, what? And y'all, because she told me, she said, Mom, I got to go to bed. My baby's going to be waking up. And I haven't had any sleep. And her husband had to work the next day. And she said, I can't be falling asleep on the baby. And I was like, go to bed. Just leave the phone parked right there. I've got it perfect. Y'all, I'm sitting there just watching it all freaking night long, all this happening. And the phone died, y'all. after she went to bed, I was like, no. Oh, I was so upset about it. I didn't get to see it. And of course, that part wasn't on the news. And you know what? Even today, they haven't found her killer. The family sold the house. That was just 2 years ago, right after I started. Like that was in March or April. I started my channel in February, and they still haven't found the killer. And that's that. And it was a knifing. It was a knife. So, that was really, really personal. She still had baby brain going on, Sally, and lack of sleep. I mean, this is the responsible mom, the one that puts her baby to bed anywhere between 7:30 and 8, sits up with her husband for about an hour. They're in bed by 9. They're snoozing by 10. She's back up at 5. And it was already after 3 in the morning when she was like, Mom, I can't do it. I was like, leave the phone. So I think she was already just too gone to even realize that her phone was dying. But they'll talk about a letdown. And then the very next weekend they went out of town. So I had to go house sit. She's got a dog. And and I did a live from her house, and everybody had already known what had happened. And I was showing them the house, and oh my God, I was so scared. Just over there by myself. I just stayed online all night long because I was scared. But anyways, yeah, that hasn't even been solved yet. And you know what? I mean, it's like they know who did it and they can't find them because it was a cold case within 4 months. Really. Amen. Just finding her is number one. Yeah, I just want her home. I mean, and then after that, I mean, I want the perp found too because I want to roast him. But the number one thing is let's just get her home, no matter what that looks like, how she comes home or whatever. It's just for those that loved her. I can't imagine having to live through that, not knowing where my mom was at. I couldn't live. There was a motorcycle that drove by tonight, and one of the guys that normally does the night streams caught him and called in because he took off once he realized someone seen him. Wow, Ashley, I didn't hear about that. Well, I've been on here. Sally says my son watched a 5 mile per hour police chase last night that ended up on his street. Wow. I like watching the ones that happen over in LA because I grew up in Carson. And some of the streets they go down, you guys, I know the streets, and it's, even though I haven't lived there in 40 years, but still it's like, I know that place. I know. Oh, it's just interesting. Plus it just brings me back to the good old days when the police were always walking through my house to get to the backyard because they know those criminals that live next door were jumping our fence that my dad was hiding out. You got to scratch back sometimes to keep your family safe. He had a picture of Nancy on his phone, right? Yeah, he was holding it up. It was either JLR or I think it was JLR at that point had, because it was already dark out. And he said you could clearly see him holding his phone and Nancy's on it that's how slow he was driving up and down that street. The captain is here and we didn't even know the captain was hanging out in the bushes, y'all. There was a 911 call and they don't know if, I heard that too about the 911 call and then the car that supposedly there was a lady screaming out the back window. I think they debunked it, saying that came through the 911 call before they saw the guy on the porch. So it wouldn't have been Nancy. But who was it? Y'all gotta tell you something. I'm gonna tell you the secret and then I'm gonna let y'all go because I gotta always tell you guys stories every now and then. All right. So I've only smoked marijuana one time and it was right here on this channel and it was great fun and I'll never do it again. I mean, I was already so old by the time I did it, but I have really bad influences around me on this channel. Anyway, so but all of my family did. My brother still does it. My older sister did it. My other sister who passed away, she she died doing it. Well, anyways, the very first time she ever smoked pot was, I think she was about 14 years old, and she smoked it with some of my aunt's friends. And y'all, she started hallucinating. I don't know how much she smoked or anything. I'm younger than her, but on top of that, I didn't get the 411. I was only 12. They weren't going to tell me shit. And but she started hallucinating really bad and kind of getting like what do you call it? They thought she was going to like have a heart attack. She had got herself all worked up or whatever. So they're like, we're screwed. We got to take her home and deal with her mom. And these people were as old as my mom. So, my mom gave them hell. But anyway, so they brought my mother's daughter home. She's 14 years old. All of us other kids that were younger got sent out of the house outside in the front yard. And I did hear this, that when they put her in the car to bring her home, she was so out of her head that she had rolled the window down and was screaming at the people, like when they were stopped at red lights, she's kidnapping me. She's kidnapping me. Could you imagine that happen in today's day and age, y'all? Oh, could you imagine? And she was trying to pull her in and drive a stick at the same time and roll up the window. That was before you had you just push the button and the windows went up and then you could lock it. Oh no, Debbie just kept rolling that window, hanging out the window, screaming to the top of her lungs. She completely was convinced that she was being kidnapped and being killed. And that's what they had to bring home to my mom. And I was sent out of the house. And if I was sent out of that house, that means mom was fixing to lay into someone's ass with both of her deuces. And so I don't know who got hit, but I'm sure someone did in there. Anyways, so maybe it was one of those things. Maybe someone got a hold of a hallucinogen. What's the word? Hallucinogenic. There it is. Hallucinogenic drug. And was hanging out the window doing that. But no, I did look that up, and it is said from the 911 call, it was earlier in the evening before this all happened. Yes, please bring Nancy home. Hallucinogenic. It's just one of those words that's hard to say, y'all. It's just one of those that's hard to say. All right, y'all, you have been with me now for 3.5 hours, and I appreciate you so much, but I'm pretty sure you're about done listening to my mouth, and I'm done listening to my mouth too. So I'm going to give you some love, and then I'm going to leave you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. If you have not hit the thumbs up yet, will you double tap your screen real quick or hit the 3 little dots in the corner, and it will prompt you to do that. Whoever's last in the building, please shut the lights out, and because we don't need the riffraff getting here. And thank y'all so much. It really means so much, and I love all of the new friends that I have met covering this case. It's been an amazing journey. And I pray, Nancy, by the time we all wake up, Nancy's going to be found, and that we'll figure out something else to do. Believe you me, we will. Shag, it was good to see you guys. And thank you to those that did sub up. I appreciate you so much, more than you know. And John, once again, thank you for the donation to the channel. I appreciate that so much. Listen, y'all say a prayer for our Maggie girl who fell 3 days ago, guys. My co-host Maggie from the UK fell 3 days ago. She ended up with 2 broken ribs and a displaced shoulder, and she is still licking those wounds. She's in a lot of pain, but let's just pray for her to get well soon, and you guys will see her up here. And you know what? By the time Maggie comes around, all y'all be going, Leanie who? We don't, I mean, Maggie is the best of the best. She's fucking funny, and I love her to death. So we wish you lots of prayers, Mags. Get well soon, honey, and take your medicine. All right, guys, that's it for me. If y'all can't be good at it. And until next time, see you later. Bye.